We be live.
Hey,
I
Armin.
think we live. Hey, can you guys tell us in the live chat if we have our audio? I think my audio is great with this new mic that I have. Look at the audio quality. Do you like that? Huh?
Yes. Yeah, it's good.
Ah.
Oh my God. Okay, besides that, you sound like you're an NPR.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I need to get a better stand for my mic so I can set up the same one that you have.
Oh yeah, you like this?
Yeah.
I got a stand and everything. It's just like it also helps me just to lean back because I know that I have to be here. We're going to be covering the news on atheism, religion, politics, culture, and everything in between. So whatever we like, whatever the community asks for. Oh wow, from Colombia. Hi.
Yeah, hello from
All right.
Colombia.
Do you have? Can we just start right away?
Yeah, make sure to like this stream. And
My puppy
is there
just showed
puppy?
up.
Can we see?
Yes. She's grown so much. It's hard for me to pick her up now.
Which one?
Bigger and bigger.
Oh God, she's so big. Oh, she's so big now.
Oh, Poochie is coming here. Hold on. Poochie!
This is the best day ever. Best news ever. She got so big too. Oh
my God. My baby girls.
Yay.
All right. I didn't expect a visit from my girls right in the middle of the news, but there's that.
Yes, that's a great way to start things off.
Yeah. Oh, she just wants love. She wants to be petted. Now what do I do? All right. All right. So, can we clap for the first news?
Yes, it's very interesting.
First news.
EU's top court bans wearing the hijab at work. It's not so simple. The European Union's top court ruled that companies within the EU can enforce that Muslim employees refrain from wearing the headscarf. The decision was made on the basis that companies may only ban employees from wearing Islamic headscarves if required to project an image of neutrality to clients. The court's ruling mentioned previous cases where two separate Muslim women in Germany were let go from their jobs after they began wearing headscarves at work. This has been described as non-discriminatory because, according to the court, quote, a prohibition on wearing any visible form of expression of political, philosophical, or religious beliefs in the workplace may be justified by the employer's need to present a neutral image towards customers or prevent social disputes. This ruling was met with heavy resentment from amongst the religious population. So this was a big controversy in the last week that I wanted to cover because as someone in the live chat before we got started, they said, please get the title straight. It's not like this. Don't follow the Times scandalistic title. And clarified. So, well, first of all, I want to say that we have a character max and we can't, put all the specificities in the title. But there was a lot of reporting about this just being an across-the-board hijab ban when it's not a hijab ban. It's a ban on political, philosophical, or religious beliefs or things that display that in the workplace. And it's not even a full ban. It's the employers are allowed to use their discretion to not allow that in their workplace should they so choose.
Yeah. So a lot of people have this anti-hijab ban or for hijab ban position without looking at the context. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people are you against hijab ban or are you for it? I'm like, well, it really depends. Are we talking about religious discrimination or religious privilege? Okay. That's, to me, what the standards should be, in my opinion, is consistency, right? If certain if it is allowed legally for private companies to ban any political, philosophical, or religious, which is actually part of the philosophical symbolism in the workplace. Like if everybody is expected to have neutrality, right? And you expect that from other people not to have any political symbols or any ideological affiliations at work. Like you can't have a pin that says like, I don't know, I'm vegan or something, right? If you have that standard, if that is allowed for private companies to do, and now all of a sudden religious people get away with a different set of rules that they get to do something that other people's don't, this is not a form of, and if you remove that, this is not a form of religious discrimination. This is a form of removing religious privilege, okay? However, you have to be careful about this, okay? Because sometimes some people act like they're removing religious privilege, but the actual intention and the actual goal behind it is religious discrimination. They were like, they had no problem or issues with people using symbols, philosophical, political symbols beforehand, until hijabi women showed up, and they're like, okay, now we're going to be like, no, you can't have any religious, or like, okay, we know what you're doing here. Okay, this is an actual form of religious discrimination. You're acting like you're worried about religious privilege. However, if you can show, in my opinion, that this is not actually about discriminating, like this is not about hijabi people. This is about everybody. Okay, you don't your religious beliefs does not give you the authority to have different set of rules than other people. Okay, and again, so you making this about hijab, this is not about hijab. This is about every religious symbol or any political symbol or any philosophical alignment that you might have. Okay, so you're not special, you're not different than other people. Okay, and if you have a, and if somebody says, okay, fine, this is not about, this rule is about everybody, it's not just about the hijabi people, it's still a nonsense rule. Okay, private companies shouldn't be able to tell you not to advertise or not to have any philosophical, political, or religious symbols while you're working. Okay, if you think that, then that complaint is a completely different complaint than accusing them of religious discrimination. Okay, that's a different thing. You could be like, okay, this is a liberty situation for me. I think people should be able to advertise their political or philosophical or religious alignment at work. Then, okay, if you have that complaint, please understand that the accusation right now is religious discrimination, and that's a much bigger allegation than just like what you're seeming like the problem is. And if that is the problem, why is it that only when hijabi women are all of a sudden the issue, all of a sudden the unfairness of this kind of standards comes into play? Again, this, and to me, shows another form of religious privilege. Okay, it is not religious discrimination. This is actually the fact that this gets this much of an attention when it comes to hijabi women shows to me that this is not an example of religious discrimination. This is an actual example of religious privilege. Okay, maybe there are some secret things behind the background that I don't know, that this is actually about discrimination. If that's the case, if somebody shows her like, no, Armin, this is, people are being like fear mongering, oh, hijabi women are going to get your culture or whatever, this is actually that, and it's just being disguised or something like that. If that's the case, then I'm against it. Okay, again, the intention behind it is what matters. But also, if your issue is that governments shouldn't like that private companies shouldn't be able to tell their employees to be neutral at work, right? Then you have to understand that you're taking this is not a fight for liberty. Okay, you're actually taking an anti-liberty stance. Okay, this might be confusing to people. You're like, how is this anti-liberty if a private company, if people get to choose whatever they want to wear at work? It's anti-liberty because you're on the side of liberty if you tell governments can't dictate what people should be wearing, right? Like, for example, in Iran, when governments dictate that women should be wearing hijab, that's anti-liberty. Okay, but if you say private companies can't dictate what people wear at work, you're not fighting for liberty. You're actually anti-liberty, okay? Because it's one thing for people, for government not to be able to tell people what to wear in public, okay? But if all of a sudden what is required for you to tell private companies not being able to tell employees what to wear or that wear at their work, that would involve the government stepping in and forcing private companies on how to come up with their workplace standards. Okay, that's not a for liberty position. That's an anti-liberty position. When you are getting, the government intervening with how companies operate. I'm not saying that makes it a good or bad thing, but I'm just saying, like, you have to understand. You don't need liberty at all. Like when governments introduce, I don't know, standards on how much pollution a company can produce, that's anti-liberty, but that doesn't make it bad. That could be a good thing, right? You need regulations, right? But I'm just saying that don't pretend that you're fighting for liberty if you are saying that the governments should force private companies not to have certain standards for how their employees dress at their workplace. Anyway, Sus.
It's kind of interesting, the background from this. So they involve two cases that went all the way through the courts and then up the European Union courts, which were originating in Germany. 2 women, 2 separate cases. And they involved situations where one woman worked at a kind of like a special needs child care center run by a charity. And one woman worked as a cashier at a drugstore chain. And they involved situations where I've heard different reports. So when they were interviewed, they did not wear the hijab, and then when they showed up for work, they started wearing it, or they didn't wear it for a period of time, and then after they had children and came back from maternity leave, that's when they started wearing it, and when these issues came about, which I thought was very interesting. This idea of like them appearing for an interview one way and then showing up another way. And so that's why part of their argument for discrimination. And I don't know what to think though, because this is all about like a mandate for neutrality. And I think this is obviously most important in the space of a public office. And we see many instances of this, like the Bill 21 in Quebec, where their headscarf ban, but again, it's not just that, it's also other religious and political symbols, isn't allowed for employees of public office. Like, I don't know. It's not my perception that I need an image of neutrality for my cashier at the drugstore. So that was interesting to me, because the court specifically says that this is specifically for when the employers need to present a neutral image towards customers or to prevent social disputes. Quote, however, the justification must correspond to a genuine need on the part of the employer, and in reconciling the rights and issues and interests at issue, the national courts may take into account the specific context of their member state, and in particular, more favorable national positions on the protection of freedom of religion. So,
see, even if we are right, here's the thing. In principle, a private company should be able to decide that, hey, again, guys, I'm going to use code words because YouTube is sensitive about what we say, okay? If somebody comes like a triple K member, okay? Triple K member, I hope you guys know what I'm saying. If they want to come out to work with their costume and you're like, we don't want that here, a private company should be able to be like, we don't want that here, okay? So I'm not saying these are comparable. They are comparable. I'm not saying these are the exact same things, but I'm just trying to make a point that the private company should be able to be like, this doesn't, we don't want you to be able to market your ideology here with what you're wearing, okay? However, it needs to be consistent. I understand that this might be a disguise, right? Like, a private company might be like, we just don't like women wearing with a hijab working here. We don't care about other symbols. Like if a woman was working here with a cross, they wouldn't fire them, or like they wouldn't have an issue with a cross, right? Then, but all of a sudden, just seeing hijab, like, oh no, we're gonna know religious symbols. Okay, like okay, we see what's happening here. Okay, so if that might be the case, but unless you can show that, you can't be like, just because it could be the case, therefore no private company should be able to tell what their employees, what symbols or philosophy or religious or politics they're advertising. Okay, maybe you could investigate, right? Maybe you could be like, the court's job is to be like, okay, if this is consistent, private companies should be able to not let their employees market and politics or religion with their religious symbols. But at the same time, if somebody could prove that this is not about this law, it's not about religious symbols and political symbols as a whole, this is about this company being anti-Muslim women. If you can show that, then that should be, I think, in my opinion, at least, grounds for both suing and criminal, right? I think that's criminal, right? So if you could like show that this company had like people with, I don't know, religious symbols or with political symbols, or up until these hijabi women showed up, if you could show that, then you could be like, okay, this company has done something illegal, right? But unless you can, even if it's true, if you can't show that, then unfortunately law doesn't work based on fairness. Laws works based on what you can, it does work. It's based on what you can show. You can't be just based on what you can assume or what you just know in your heart or something. You know what I mean?
So it's interesting. For the Special Needs Care Center, they already had rules on the books that forbade Christians from wearing a cross. So
say that again.
They already have rules on the books where, like Christians can't wear like a cross necklace, like a crucifix.
Oh yeah.
Like it's not discrimination.
It settles it for me. Okay. You can't. Yeah. So where were people before that saying like, this is outrageous, this is discrimination? How come women can't wear a cross at work? Like, where was that? Right? This is Islamic privilege. Okay. Where was that? Right?
Well, what do you think about?
Can you work? What's a kippa? It's kippa, right?
Kippa, or
kippa.
Yeah.
Could people work at this company? Men could show up with a kippa. Could they have, or would that be not allowed?
My understanding is that would not be allowed.
Okay, so how come? Why is the outrage only when hijabi women can't work with the hijab there? This is, again, it's a form of Islamic privilege. This is not anti-Islamic discrimination. This is actually the exact opposite. This is Islamic privilege. If the information is correct, unless somebody comes and corrects us that,
But what do you think about the actual positions that these women hold? I understand more with the child care center for mandating, not showing political, philosophical, religious symbols. But for me, I understand the position of the woman who's just a cashier at a drugstore less so. To me, that doesn't seem like it's a position that mandates neutrality in the same way.
I understand.
I'm not a judge.
I know. Okay. See, here's the thing. That's a fair criticism. But if that's if the complaint is that you don't need neutrality as a cashier, then the issue with this law is not religious discrimination. The issue with this law might be like, why do you need neutrality at the cashier? Why can't I? It's not like, why are you not allowing hijabi women at the cashier? It should be everybody. Why can't I have like my political affiliation also as a cashier? Okay. So if that's the nature of the complaint, then people shouldn't act like this is religious discrimination. The nature of the complaint should be like, you don't need neutrality at the cashier. That's a different kind of complaint about this law, separate from accusing them of religious discrimination, because they're not discriminating. They're being consistent.
Yeah, well, it would be interesting to see if this has been, either in the past or in the present or in the future, applied inconsistently. Because then you would have major grounds to come at this again. If this is being applied inconsistently, like there's someone with a little anarchy symbol on their little apron at work, you know, like then you would have grounds to be, you'd have legal grounds. Like I'd completely support that. It was really interesting. Zara K had a post on her page where she was saying, banning of religious symbols in workplaces isn't secularism, it's authoritarianism. When did we become like theocracies that are intolerant to other people's beliefs kept to themselves? I don't find the need to discriminate women who wear the hijab, but I certainly won't celebrate the hijab for what it represents in setting the narrative that my gender is subservient. I celebrate the courage of women who take it on, blah, blah, blah. Wait, anything else? Yeah, so...
It amazes me that people don't see the difference between a government banning something and a private company having standards for at their workplace, right? So this is not tyranny. In fact, it would be tyranny if what Zara K wants, that would be tyranny, okay? Because think about what it would involve. It would involve the government forcing the private companies to have the standards that the government wants, even if it's not discrimination, right? Again, I'm not against government intervention. If the government isn't getting involved and actively having laws against discrimination, those are good government intervention. But if this is not discrimination, this is being consistent, and the government steps in and says you can't do that, that's the government setting the standards of private companies for them, forcing it on them, even when it's not discrimination. That is actual tyranny. I don't know how do people not understand the difference between something that the government is forcing upon you and something that is a private company is forcing upon you? If you are working for them, you are not forced to work for them. Okay? Again, if it's not discrimination, the private company should be able to have standards. You can't force private companies to act the way you want. That's the actual tyranny. Guys, this is not that hard. Here's the thing. If the government comes and says, we have a rule, you can't swear. I'm like, what the hell? Imagine if a government comes and says, like, you can't swear. That's illegal now. Like, this is too much government intervention. Like, what the hell? They're policing our words, okay? That would be tyranny. That would be unreasonable. However, if a private company comes and says, you can't swear at work. If you conduct this behavior at work, you will be fired. That is not tyranny. That is not tyranny. If I go to my office and start swearing like a sailor and they fire me, I can't claim like, oh my God, this is tyranny. That is not tyranny. How do people not see the difference?
Well, technically, you do swear at your office a lot. And I would know because we work together. Yeah, no.
Again, guys, I'm not just for the progressives out there. I'm not saying the government shouldn't intervene at all. That the government should stay behind and not have no regulations at all. No, I'm not saying that. Okay. Again, government has to have anti-discrimination laws. But if this is consistent and it's not discrimination, it's consistent across all philosophical and political ideologies, then the government stepping in and saying you can't do that, that is actual tyranny. But go on.
Yeah, no, it'd be kind of ridiculous to say to private companies that they are not allowed to have a dress code or a uniform policy. But the Open Society Justice Initiative says that this ruling may continue to exclude many Muslim women and other religious minorities from various jobs in Europe. What do you say to that? That this is yeah.
I'm just wondering why there was not an issue about the Sikhs, for example, not being able to work, right? Because of these rules, right? Why was this not an issue when Jewish people who had to wear the kippah, why was this not an issue? Like, oh my God, they can't work here because they always have to wear the kippah. They want to always wear the kippah. Sikh people, they always have to wear the turban. Oh no, they can't work here. right? They have to go find a job somewhere else. Why was this not an issue? Why is it that when the hijabi women want to work here and now they can't? Okay, why is it now an issue? Again, this is Islamic privilege, right? Is this not Islamic privilege? Again,
Yes.
I'm not saying, again,
And
if you have a problem, yeah, go on.
And I mean, to paraphrase the title of Yasmin Mohammed's book, like the kind of uneducated backlash about this is a good example of how Western liberals empower radical Islam. Like, it's in an effort that is very well-meaning to include minorities within society, integrate them, have them be supportive and thrive. I share that desire. But we shouldn't do this in a way where we are privileging some people more than others. We need to be consistent. And, I think, it's an example of when your progressivism or your goodwill accidentally becomes illiberal.
Yeah. Again, I'm not saying this law doesn't have these standards, not law. These standards don't have a problem. But I'm just saying that if they're being consistent, the problem with it is not religious discrimination. The problem with it is something else. Maybe it's a problem, okay? And again, I think the solution to things like this is you need to have, there needs to be so many options. Like, for example, this company should have alternative jobs for this woman, for example, in my opinion, right? Like, let's say, like, okay, you said I'm qualified. Now you don't want me as a cashier. Can I do inventory? Right?
Yeah.
You don't need
neutrality.
You don't need neutrality. You don't need neutrality for somebody who's doing inventory, right?
Yeah, it's not publicly facing. If it's not publicly facing, then you do not need to present an image of neutrality.
Right.
Perfect example, Armin.
Yeah. Anyways, look at some comments in the live chat while I bring up the next.
Well, Music Guy had an interesting comment when we first started the news. I'll try to find the actual comment, but he was asking if this would, oh wait, here it is. I can't wear a beard at work. Would that be the same? I don't think it would be the same because a beard is not explicitly a religious symbol. There are many religions that do heavily, wearing the beard may be obligatory, but it is not obviously a religious symbol in the same way that a crucifix necklace or a hijab would be. Like, when you see, unless a man is also wearing like a Sikh turban, I don't assume, or like a little kufi hat, like I don't assume that his beard is a religious mandate or part of his religious expression. So I can see how it would be a lot easier for it to be a situation where the beard is fine. Unless it is a situation where it is actually a hazard to the job, like being a medical professional, during the situation we got going now, you got to shave that down so that you can wear your protective equipment. Ghost Bunny is saying, I work for a Christian workplace and we can't even show religious preference. LOL. Interesting.
This one.
Ion is saying, Armin congratulating himself by highlighting the comments, which praises him. Yes, he does this every day. I don't know what you're talking about. This is new. This is nothing new.
Yeah. That's how you get highlighted, by the way, if you were wondering.
Oh, jeez. Okay. Let's go to the next news. And
can I clap for the next news?
It's not good, so I don't think we should.
Ooh. All right, next news.
Next news. Indian hate site auctioned off Muslim women. So this is a story a lot of you guys asked us to cover. And this is like really shocking and kind of, I wanted to touch on this because it highlights a lot of social tension and issues that are going on in India. An app called Sully Deals has been posting private information and pictures of Muslim women in India. These women are being called Deal of the Day. Sully, a derogatory term for Muslim women in India, is commonly used by far-right Hindu groups. 28-year-old Sania Syed from Mumbai felt humiliated and described the ordeal as being auctioned like cattle. One of the many victims is Afreen Fatima, a 23-year-old student activist from Allahabad in Uttar Pradesh. She was targeted after she joined an online discussion about the oppression of Muslim women in India. Such incidents were limited to Muslim women in India. No, they weren't limited to Muslim women in India, and actually also include women living all the way in the United States. The app was hosted by the third-party hosting service GitHub, which has since taken it down. The Delhi Police Public Relations Officer said that the police cyber cell has already filed criminal complaints regarding Suli deals. He added that they have not yet identified the individuals behind it, but are actively working with GitHub. So that is some good news.
I mean, they kind of did their job for them, right? Like, these women are saying, like, hey, guess what? It's tough to be Muslim woman in India. And these people were like, how dare you say that? Let us proceed by becoming Exhibit A and making your entire point for you. And by that, proving you wrong. Like, I mean, I don't understand the motivation. Like, what? Can you explain, Susie, like, what do you think goes into the mind of these people? Like, these people are embarrassing us. How dare they? Let's proceed by embarrassing ourselves much more than they could ever have done.
So
like,
true.
I don't understand. Like, what was the outcome? I think the outcome is just that they're just so filled with hate and disgust and desire for revenge by anybody who wants to, like, portray India as anything that is not perfect.
Not a Hindu
heaven. And not a Hindu Rashtra. Like, they don't even think about what they want to achieve, or what do they see coming at the end of their. They just want, like,
it's
I
just
hate you.
Blind attack hate.
Yeah, I know. Like, we experienced that, right? Like, when they came after us, like, sometimes, like, what do they hope do they get out of this? They're like, they just want to see you sad. They're just so filled with disgust and hate, especially for these women. Like, oh my God, they hate these women, right? So they just are like, I just want to be able to be the source of half a second of misery in your life. That would just give me satisfaction. That's all they want, because there can't be anything else that they get. Because other than that, what else are they getting? They're getting embarrassment from themselves and what they represent in India. Like, again, over the long term, they're making the cases that these women are trying to make. These women, like, you know what? Don't believe me. Look at what they're doing.
Yeah,
they made an entire app trying to auction us off. Like, don't even listen to our arguments. Look at the people who hate us. Look at what they're doing. Like, congratulations.
Yeah, good
Hendrik.
job.
So
you managed to make
you
international news media for your bigotry and misogyny now amplified and exposed across the entire world. Like, it's just, it really disturbs me deeply, like, how far some people go to target random women. Like, so some people are like, they're activists and they want to speak out against, like, what they deal with as a Muslim woman in Indian society. And then some of them were just like a random Indian woman with a Muslim name. And that is the sole purpose for them being on this site. It's, oh my gosh. And of course it's the women, because they feel like it's an easier target. They're a softer target that they can go after without reprisal. And naturally, these women who had their personal information exposed on this hate site, like, proceeded to, as if that wasn't bad enough, to have them posted on this website as if they are something to be sold, almost like a cattle or like a prostitute or something. Like, they
be careful with those words.
Yeah, sorry. Like, as if that wasn't bad enough, then of course people then proceed to take what they found there and then continue to harass them privately. And I watched this interview, I forget on what news agency it was, but there was this woman who was exposed on this website, and she was talking about what she's been dealing with. And, the presenter's like, hi, how are you? How are you doing? And she's like, well, I know, like, the right thing to say, or is like, I'm good. Like, I am good. I'm fine. I'm safe. Like, nothing really happened to me. But the truth is that underneath, all I feel is just rage. Like, and I can't, there's nothing I can do with this rage. Like, that I have been targeted and hurt in this way simply because of my identity. What can I direct this towards? Like, this is an endemic problem in our society. And I just have this rage. And I just was sitting there thinking about what that must feel like. And I've experienced a bit of that before, when you just have this rage and there's nowhere to place it. It's so, there's no way to like exercise it out appropriately. It's so frustrating and toxic. Like, I can't even imagine what these women are going through.
Yeah, and also it really angers me to see how so many people talk about anti-Muslim discrimination, and they only focus on, like, North America and Western Europe, because their agenda is not to actually just. I mean, some of them actually have genuine concern for people there, but a lot of people, I feel like, they seem to not look at places where the most amount of discrimination against Muslims are happening, right? The most amount of discrimination, total number-wise, against Muslims is happening in India and China, right? And actually in Yemen as well. But that one is by Muslims, though.
Well, I would also say Pakistan, but
Pakistan, in a different way. You're right, actually. But like, look at this. This is like, if this was happening the way, like, not just this, but if all the things that we cover here, the way Muslims are treated in India, if it was happening to Muslims in North America or Western Europe, the global outcry would be so much. Nobody would be able to ignore it, right? If the Muslims in Europe and the Muslims in North America were experiencing a fraction of the discrimination that the Muslims in India are facing, there would have been a global outcry, right? So sometimes again, I'm not saying that you shouldn't have an outcry when there is discrimination against Muslims in Europe and North America. Like, a lot of people think like I'm trying to reduce that. No. In fact, increase that outcry and bringing attention to discrimination against Muslims in North America and Western Europe. I'm asking for it to be increased in India and China. I'm not trying to decrease it in North America and Western Europe. Okay, but yeah, there's just some inconsistencies here. But yeah, go on.
Well, and this is a little bit of a different take, but I think it's important to think about because of a different situation, drama that was happening in the ex-Muslim community on Twitter, where there was this figure who's also on YouTube, and I don't want to promote them, so I won't say their name, but they were completely downplaying and dismissing wholeheartedly the discrimination that Muslims face in India. And I just want to point out that attitude is very short-sighted if you're supposed to care about ex-Muslims, because ex-Muslims will not be exempt from this form of discrimination and harassment purely because they do have Muslim names. So, if you're the type of person where unfortunately you're only motivated by self-enlightened interest, I want to give you a good reason to be interested in this type of discrimination in this type of story, because it does affect your own group too, actually. Like, we all have a stake in this. But
I was told by a lot of these bigots in India that, like, I'm an ex-Muslim, but they hate me so much that they want to hate me as a Muslim, right? So they tell me that once a Muslim, always a Muslim. They say that you have the DNA or Muslim blood, which is so disgusting. And so the way that they just, some of the most, I've never been exposed to the level of bigotry. Like, in all my life, I've never been to this experience and seen, I mean, I'm not a victim. Like, I'm just saying, like, towards others, but the level of hate and bigotry that exists in India, and I'm not just saying this by personal experience, because lived experiences don't mean much when it comes to actually coming up with conclusions. I'm also saying this based on data. The amount of bigotry that exists in India is just, there's nowhere else that comes even close, right? And this is something that India needs to deal with. And I'm not talking all, of course. There are many great people that are fighting back against this, but this is a major problem in India.
Including a lot of people in our community are involved in fighting out against this.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Anyways, you want to highlight anything in the live chat while I bring up the next news?
Yeah, I know that objective ass is a oh wait, no, I can't say that. Objective butt. Okay, that's what I'm gonna say now. Is an Indian ex-Muslim, and to my point, he's saying, and they think we are lying to backstab them, like this us versus them mentality. Well, I haven't heard that before, that they almost think of you as like a double agent.
Oh yeah.
Whoa.
No, they think it was always your plan. Like nothing.
How many 3D takia?
No, they accuse you of taqiyya. They're like the whole point of, so ex-Muslims now, especially after what I did when it comes to going after the in Hinduism and stuff like that, because they used to love us before because we were anti-Islam, but now I ruined it for a lot of ex-Muslims because now they think like that. Oh no, we were the whole plan. Like this is like a 15-year plan of mine, for example, is to my entire activism, the foundation of Atheist Republic and everything we have done was to be anti-Islam, to lure in Hindutva, to see that to have like, ooh, these are our allies. And my plan, I was actually always a Muslim and stayed a Muslim. And my plan was to let them like listen to me and follow me. And then right when they didn't expect it, to be like going after their goddesses. They actually think that this was the original plan from the get-go. Like I'm actually loyal to the Muslim community and the Ummah. And this was a secret plan by the Muslim community to use me as a way to fight against Hinduism. So they actually believe this, and not just one or two of them, like thousands of them believe this. So it's amazing.
I imagine this, early 20s Armin coming to Canada, and he's like, oh, in 15 years, just you wait and see. It's gonna rain hell.
Sayyid Khamenei, I know, sent me here like, I won't let you down. I won't let you down, Sayyid Ali. Sayyid Ali, I will make your this plan will work. I promise you. This is like I should eventually go to India and record myself in India and like make like that guy in New York. They're like, Sayyid Ali, look, I'm in India. I can smell your shafia. I can smell your shafia all the way from here. This is Tehran's property now. We've taken over India. Oh, God. All right.
Your revolution has come to India.
Yeah. The Persian Empire is back. Oh yeah, India belonged to Iran at some point. Like this belongs to Persia, and I'm claiming this for Sayyid Ali. I'm claiming this land for Sayyid Ali. Anyway.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Can we clap for the next news?
Yes.
Wait, that was pathetic. Next news.
Catholic Diocese in Connecticut files for bankruptcy while facing sexual abuse lawsuits.
Nice.
Well, maybe not nice. This is going to be interesting. On July 15th, Reverend Michael Coate, the Bishop of the Royal Catholic Diocese of Norwich, Connecticut, declared that the diocese filed for bankruptcy. The announcement was made while lawsuits related to sexual abuse at Mount St. John's Schools Academy were ongoing. In 2016, a sexual abuse victim filed and won the case against the Diocese of Norwich and Bishop Daniel Riley. The diocese was forced to pay $9.5 million after losing the case. In 2018, the diocese faced more than 20 lawsuits for alleged sexual abuse of underage victims. Kelly Reardon, the attorney representing 6 of these victims, questions the diocese's decision to file for bankruptcy. She predicts that the filing will shield the diocese financially, preventing the victims from receiving full compensation. So, D is saying pass the collection plate. This was interesting to me because we often talk about wanting the church to basically be sued into oblivion, right? But there's stuff that comes with that, right? And so this lawyer, who Kelly Reardon, representing 6 victims, is basically saying that it's not as simple as just these lawsuits and, settlements and getting your money, because they can use these tactics like filing for bankruptcy to extend their, not extend, what's the word I'm looking for? Well, it will extend the legal process, which isn't great for the victims. I would assume that they want this to be over as soon as possible. It's obviously a very extremely painful experience for them to try to rehash all this stuff and litigate it. But it's a tactic to possibly not compensate them as much as they should be compensated, which is something I hadn't considered when we talk about, taking legal financial action against the Catholic Church.
Yeah, actually, this makes a lot of sense because they're not being sued personally, right? Like for example, let me give you an example. My my brother signed up for this gym. It was called Sugar Bucks or something. They said he was like, it's the best thing ever. You pay $250 and it's lifetime membership or something like that, right? I'm like, that's a scam. They're going to claim bankruptcy in a month or something, and I mean it's a legal scam because once you file bankruptcy, then you can't go after them personally, and this is legal. It's a legal scam, right? And there's no way this is not a scam. Lifetime is like, no, it's great. Everybody's signing up. I was like, okay, and then 1 month after, they filed bankruptcy, but people think filing bankruptcy means they're suffering. No, they were planning to file bankruptcy, right? Because you paid the company, then they paid themselves, and then they bankrupt the company. And because the company is bankrupt, there's no money to go get. And then you can't go after them individually because it was the company that was bankrupt, right? So the whole point, people oh my God, these people don't know what they're doing. They're bankrupt. Oh, they lost all their money. No, they didn't lose anything. They paid themselves and they bankrupted the entity that you're suing. So they keep all the money. But go on.
Yeah, it's tough because I was watching the video of the bishop who announced this. And he said that they were in talks with their lawyers and prayed about it for 2 years. So they were considering filing for bankruptcy for 2 years before actually going through with it. It's another note, the U.S. Bankruptcy Court has required the Diocese of Norwich to lay out its finances and demanded complete transparency from the diocese as a response to the victim seeking compensation. The Diocese of Norwich disclosed liabilities of up to $100 million, with assets ranging from $10 million to $50 million. So with all of these, what this specifically has to do with this residential school called Academy at Mount St. John's, which was a treatment center for troubled youth, basically. And there were all these lawsuits. I think there were around 60 victims. I can't remember exactly. I watched a little news clip about this before the show. I think it was 60 victims. And they were showing us all on the news, like all the documentation of all the fees and the settlements and stuff. Well, it's not a settlement of the dues that are owed the victims, and it's just millions and millions and millions of dollars, to the point that it's now a liability of like up to like 100 million.
Can they be sued personally though? I mean, this is some.
I don't know the specifics closely enough of the cases involving all of these individuals and who harmed them specifically, so I can't give you a clear answer on that. But when the Reverend was announcing this, he made sure to note that all the parishes will still be running, all the Catholic schools will still be running, because they're all separate entities.
See, this is what they do. They're like so many entities, and they're like, we're fine. You go out, you take one of them out. They're like, I don't have to operate under this entity. I could operate under all these other 200 entities that I have here, right? All right, like, I guess we lost this one. Fine.
Yeah,
we're not gonna pay you anything, because we're just gonna move the money to ourselves, pay ourselves, and then bankrupt it. And oh wow, look at you, you win your lawsuit, but I'm sorry, there's no money for you to have because we bankrupted the entity. This is why you have to go after them. Okay, here's a silver lining that I'm thinking. Guys, I'm no legal expert, so don't come at me. Take everything with a grain of salt.
I know, we need Rivka.
No, she's not. Okay, guys, none of us are legal experts. Okay, please always please always keep that in mind. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
However, before Susanna interrupted my chain of thought, I was gonna say, God damn it, what was I gonna say? Thank you, Suze. That the silver lining is that this might set a precedent. No, not set a precedent. Be used when you go after them personally, because it has been established in another court that these people be guilty. You know what I mean? So I don't know how this. I don't know how things work, right? In the courts and all. But one thing I think I'm familiar with is that whether you want to press criminal charges, not just civil, right? Or you want money and you want to go after them, sue them personally, okay? Because criminal charges doesn't get you money. Suing them personally gets you money, okay? You could do both. You could be like, I am personally pressing criminal charges and I'm suing you personally for money. Two different things, criminal law and civil law, right? Whatever you want to do, I'm hoping that the fact that we have precedent by another court that these people be guilty makes all of that process a lot easier. Again, I don't know. I'm just assuming that that's how it works. Go on.
The Robert Atheist saying it's a shell game. They move money around so they don't lose any. It's very interesting. So this attorney, Kelly Reardon, when I was watching her talk to the local news about this, she was very stern in the way she was talking about this. And she's like, I'm going to continue to push to get my clients every single penny that they are owed. Okay. I'm not a legal expert, and I was watching this video by the bishop, and I was a little confused about the technicalities of it, but basically it involves consolidating a lot of this debt and a lot of different stuff. But the diocese claimed that it is insured by the Catholic Mutual Relief Society of America for covered claims. Reardon, the attorney representing 6, said that the insurance is fairly limited. On the website, the diocese agreed and stated that the insurance coverage is inadequate to compensate survivors. Bishop Coate has turned to the financial protection brought about by the filing for bankruptcy, saying that it will allow the court to centralize these lawsuits to help the diocese manage its litigation expenses and preserve adequate financial resources. And in response, Kelly Reardon was basically saying this is a tactic to just prolong the legal process, and it's unfair and unjust, and another, abuse and slap in the face of the people who have already been through like hell in their life.
I know this is probably unlikely, but what are the legal potentials for people to go at the center, to go at the Vatican?
I don't know.
Aim at
I honestly
aim at
have
the
no
source.
idea. I would assume, given the fact that these sorts of abuse scandals have been a central part of Catholic history over the past 150 years longer, that they've done a very good job of legally isolating themselves from these sorts of things. I'm making that assumption because how could they not go about protecting themselves in every way possible?
I think there needs to be, this is my solution to everything here, okay? Again, I'm not a legal expert, but I'm pretty sure this is the best way to do things just because I said so. No, I'm kidding. But I think there needs to be a law firm, okay, built, like there needs to be a fundraiser, right? And all these victims of the Catholic Church from all around the world market the fundraising for an entire law firm to be built in Rome, right next to the Vatican, okay, to bring an international, like to represent the victims globally, okay, in Rome, and be the representative of all the victims around. And the entire purpose is to sue the Vatican for money on behalf of all the victims everywhere. Not US, not Canada, not Brazil, not Uganda, not Philippines. And like this is the entire purpose
An international class action lawsuit against the country of the Vatican.
Yes, and perfect.
We're going to sue a country out of existence. Let's do it.
Yes. And that would be the entire purpose of this law firm. Guys, do it. Somebody start this. All right.
I would promote it.
I like the way you phrased that, but that was an international class action lawsuit
against
with the purpose of
a country.
Against the country. That was perfect for I like the sound of that.
I know, because I don't know, sometimes I forget that the Vatican is its own international entity. It's its own country. When you put it that way, things become a lot more intimidating in a lot of ways.
Well, here's the thing. They're not just a country. They're also other things. You know what I mean?
Imperialist
you don't have to... No. Like when it comes to legal entities, you don't have to be like, if you're like doing a lawsuit, like you don't have to be like, oh yeah, we're suing a country. Like, no, we're like suing this entity, and that entity doesn't have to be the nature of that shouldn't have to be the country, right? But the legal complication, the fact that this entity is within its own country just makes the legal complications of the whole thing a lot more difficult. I mean, these people get away with all of this because they have their own country. Like, or else it would be easier to just get the government of the country that they're in to be like, look at this, what the hell? You guys are hosting this? Like, do something about it. But they're like, nope, we have our own country. Which government are you going to contact, right? Like, anyways, I just think like Italy should just invade Vatican.
Strong words.
Let's just take over.
I ain't gonna touch that.
And like, you guys, you're not a country anymore. Why? I don't know. Just by, just because we can. Just because like by what authority? By what rule of law? Like, we just invaded you. We make the laws now.
What are Swiss guards they're gonna do?
Oh, they could. They could just stand there and look colorful. Anyways, okay. Can we clap for the next news?
Yes, we can. It's very good news.
Oh wow! Next news.
Minnesota bans conversion therapy for minors and angers Christian groups. Yay!
Yay!
So, on July 15th, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz signed an executive order effectively banning conversion therapy for minors. Many on the religious right have expressed their outrage at this decision. Minnesota Family Council, or MFC, CEO John Helmberger stated that the governor's action would hurt sufferers seeking to get care. According to a Trevor Project survey from 2020, 58% of LGBT youth in the US had someone try to convince them to change their gender identity or sexuality. That statistic shocked me, by the way.
Wow.
58%. In a 2009 report from the American Psychological Association, multiple cited studies have shown that conversion therapy is not an evidence-based practice. It can result in an increased risk of substance abuse and mood disorders. According to the official press release, the executive order will have various government agencies work with healthcare companies to ensure that they do not cover nor fund conversion therapy, and will open investigations on any healthcare providers engaged in conversion therapy in any way. I love that last part because it makes it steps it up a notch. It's saying it's not enough for us to ban it. We need to investigate and ensure that we are in no way funding it, and that we are actually pushing to investigate anyone who is engaging in this in any way. I love how aggressive that is.
Can I ruin this title for you?
Yes, I already know what you're going to say.
I'm going to say this sounds like a good news. However, what it reads to me is like a state in the most powerful, advanced country on the planet had not banned the most barbaric torture of gay and trans people until only recently. This was not banned. Torturing people for no reason at all was allowed in United States, in this state of United States, and I'm assuming there are other states still allowing this, until just now. Only now they decided, like, oh yeah, let's not do this. There's no science behind this, and it doesn't do anything other than torturing people. Only now they just came about doing that.
I have to say, amazing. I think you are being unfair on Minnesota, given that this is in no way federally a federal thing. You know, this is totally allowed federally throughout America. So Minnesota is being better than the rest of the country. But I agree with you with the sentiment that this across the nation should not be allowed.
Well, how does that contradict what I'm saying? I'm just saying overall in the United States, this is allowed. This is an allowed thing.
Yes. No, I'm saying you can't be hard on Minnesota for only passing this until now, when the rest of the country has no standard for this, you know. But I get what you mean.
My point is that only now some places in the United States are now banning this. And again, to your point, some places this is still allowed. Which states allow this still?
I don't know that off the top of my head. A lot. Too many is the answer. Too many, because there are some.
One would be too many.
Yeah, exactly. The Rabid Atheist is saying there are a lot of conversion therapy programs in American Christian church circles. It's a good move, but there are a lot of things out there. It's a good start, but a long way to go. I agree. So what I thought was so interesting, I want to kind of pick apart this statistic from the Trevor Project. By the way, guys, if you are an LGBT youth in America, I think they define youth as 24 or under, and you struggle with your mental health as an LGBT person, or maybe just to find resources, look up the Trevor Project. They save lives. And I think, honestly, I've recommended them to people who live internationally just because they have other online virtual resources. Just a plug for the people who need it. But so the statistic from them is from 2020, 58% of LGBT youth in the US had someone try to convince them to change their gender identity or sexuality. Okay, so that's just someone trying to convince you to change your gender identity or sexuality is not necessarily conversion therapy, but I thought that was a shocking statistic that it's almost 60%. They had another statistic, which was that according to the survey in 2020, 10% of 10% of LGBT people, LGBT youth, actually experience literal conversion therapy. So of that 10%, 78% of them experienced conversion therapy as a minor. So below the age of 18.
What does that involve, for example? Like, can you, like, I heard some horror stories.
It's very variable because it's basically like made up. It's made up pseudo psychotherapy. So it can be completely made up. I've heard of when I was getting my minor in gender and sexuality studies, we studied conversion therapy, and if it works, quote unquote, so the ex-gay movement, so to speak, and according to what I read in those classes, I remember a story of them taking these men who, were gay or attracted to men and making them do weird exercises where they would like squash oranges that represented their testicles and their manhood. Like, it's very weird, symbolic stuff. Or like they would have these men in a group and then they would line them up and there'd be what would we call it as children? There's this game where you have everyone in a line and you try to hold onto the line and then people try to push their way through, and as a way to like push through to your masculinity. And a lot of it is, or in many cases, men trying to pick apart their relationships with their mother, because these types of programs often blame over mothering as the source of same-sex attraction, particularly in men. It's a very common stereotype. So just complete made-up nonsense. I actually know some people who are my age who are survivors of conversion therapy, and I never really asked them about it and what they went through, because it's something that leads a lot of people to hurt themselves. And so I never really wanted to, get too many details from them like that, when they're just like my classmates. But
I have two ideas.
Mm-hmm.
No, finish that thought.
Well, my point is that these made up kind of weird symbolic therapies kind of culminate to teach people that there is something broken and wrong about themselves, and their manhood is broken in them some way. They were over feminized. It's usually concentrated towards men is where a lot of these therapies come from. And my understanding, it's not totality. And just to make a lot of them also involve aversion therapy. So where they will shock men or not even men, they will shock the subject or use physical pain in some way while showing them homosexual adult content. Okay, can't say that because of YouTube. And to make them have a physical aversion to seeing people involved in same-sex sexual activity. Like, how demonic is that? Condition someone to have a painful aversive reaction to their own attraction. It's so horrible.
Yes, it is horrible, but I don't appreciate your anti-demon discrimination.
Okay,
please
Armin,
don't use
now's
that.
not the time.
All right, read this one.
The Rabid Atheist is saying, from the perspective of the churches, conversion therapy is pretty much a place to send people to get rid of them until they come back straight. Then they have a good testimony so that they are okay. Sick. Very true. Very true. You see a lot of these people come out and, like, if you just Google ex-gay or ex-homosexual movement, you find a lot of these people. It was really funny. When I was studying this in college, there were these men who used to run an ex-gay program together because they were both ex-gay. And then they ended up running away and eloping together. So they're ex-gay. You're muted.
Actually, that's pretty cool. XX. I'm XX.
Yeah. No, so I thought that was good. But it was also just a plot twist and goes to show like some of these people who prop up and promote this themselves and how well this worked for them, they go on to still marry men, it doesn't work. It's not scientific. It's harmful.
No kidding.
Oh, this is a very interesting comment because this is non-Christian conversion therapy. Mustafa is saying a lot of Somali parents of LGBT youth in Minnesota end up having their kids go through some form of conversion therapy by taking them to an Islamic boarding school somewhere in East Africa. This is a huge problem. Last year, I remember helping some people. Well, I can't give too many details, but it was of a young trans girl who was a child, a minor, facing a situation where she was possibly about to be kidnapped out of the United States to go to one of these, programs somewhere in Africa. Like, it's terrifying. It's so scary to think, like, what recourse do you have as a child to get away from your legal guardians while they're trying to take you out of the country to Islamize you, to make you not American, to make you not Western, because a lot of cultures across the world see homosexuality as a Western imperialist, or a symbol of it. Like this Western imperialism is trying to put homosexuality into our people so that we're not strong, so we can't reproduce, so we can't fight against them, which is a very weird sort of interpretation of it. So this isn't just a Christian thing. Thank you for bringing that up, Mustafa. That's a very good point. Aw, AGA is saying, she's saying, I'm a survivor. It's depressing as F. You feel worthless. Well, thank you for sharing a little bit about that, AGA.
Well, she's not here, though. But...
Okay, I need a minute. I have to collect myself. I'll be back for the next story. I can't deal with this trigger today. Yeah, it's horrible.
Yes.
I've watched a lot of testimonies from people who have been through these sorts of things, and they just talk about how even, decades later, they'll be shocked at how what they were taught during these abusive programs still comes up.
There needs to be a movie of these people that start this conversion therapy clinic, but they have a secret agenda, okay? They're trying to save all these people, all these like young people from the parents who think that their kids need conversion therapy. And they're like, well, we are that conversion therapy place. And they send them there, but they're actually secretly a place where they could be themselves. And they have this, this should be a movie. And they're just like acting like so they have one set of practice when nobody's there, but when the parents visit, they have like this show for them, and it could be a comedy. It could be like they have to actually put on a show that, look, it's working, blah, blah, blah. But when their parents are not there and they're not being monitored, it's actually them trying to find matches with each other. I don't know, like the people who are in charge of the clinic are trying to make them comfortable about who they are. Well, isn't that a great movie idea? I think that should be that should be a movie.
I think, yes, I like this. Like it's it's a front. It's a front
Yes.
for a gay dating service.
Yes.
Oh my God, yes. And this is how people from like really religious fundamentalist backgrounds like find love. Oh, wait. Someone write this story. We'll make this a positive. Yeah, we'll make this a positive.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yay, thank you to Minnesota for banning this. It's so cruel to put children through this. Obviously, we feel like it should be banned for adults as well, but that's, a different legal point of contention that's beyond the scope of this particular story. Offer it to Bollywood. I see potential.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a great idea. I don't know.
Oh, I have more good. The next story is so good.
Wow, we have some good news today.
Yes.
Okay. Can we clap?
Yes, big clap.
Okay. Yeah. Next News.
Next news. Christian teacher refuses to use transgender students' names, sues school, and loses. So I hope AGA is back for this because it involves dunking on transphobes. So, John Klug, an orchestra teacher in Brownsburg Community School from 2014 to 2018, sued his former employer over the school's transgender name policy. Klug was asked to address students by their first names, including the chosen names adopted by transgender students. Klug and 3 other teachers sent a letter to the school's principal stating that, quote, to encourage students in transgenderism is a sin. Klug was forced to resign in 2018. In 2019, Klug filed a lawsuit arguing that the school violated his First Amendment rights. The district judge rejected Klug's argument, explaining that he was at this time a government employee who was instructed to carry out his job. 2 years later, in July 2021, Judge Magnus Stinson dismissed Klug's religious discrimination lawsuit. The judge stated that Brownsburg Community School has, quote, an obligation to meet the needs of all of its students, not just the students that were unaware of or unbothered by Mr. Klug's practice of using last names only. So this is pretty interesting. So I want to kind of expand on some certain points. So back in, I think it was 2018, no, in early 2017, it's when, this is a public school. They came together and discussed how they could make their transgender students feel more comfortable. And they introduced a system where students are more easily able to have their chosen name on school documents so that they will be dressed by the name that, they feel most accurately represents them. They change their first name, very common for a lot of trans people. And they require the staff of the school to use these chosen names. And this teacher was asked to, follow this policy as part of his job, and he refused. And this is when he sent the letter to the school saying, I can't encourage this, it's sinful. And at first, the school and him tried to implement a policy where they tried to work with him partway. And they said, okay, you can only call students by their last name because you technically wouldn't be violating the policy of not calling them by their chosen first name if you only call them by their last name. So they tried that at first. However, this compromise didn't last, and it proved to be ineffective because he had a hard time calling the students only by their last name, or he would do it inconsistently so that it was very obvious that he was only doing it to avoid calling the chosen name of the transgender students. And there would be incidents where he would call the cisgender students by their first name. So, when you are applying a standard unequally across the board, that is discrimination, which he's clearly doing. The transgender students at the school started complaining, and they're saying, this makes me feel alienated. It makes me feel upset. It makes me feel dehumanized. This person even won't call me by my name. They'll only call me by my last name. They won't even call me by my pronoun. This is ridiculous. It made me dread going to orchestra class every day. So at this point, this is when, the fallout with the school started to happen. First, he tried to sue on the basis of, First Amendment situation. Like, you guys are trying to forced speech. Like, that's what these Christian transphobes always, their argument is that this is forced speech. And then the judge threw that out. and this is why the judge threw this one out. It was so good. He said, he rejected Klug's argument, explaining that he, at the time, a government employee who was instructed to carry his job. The judge added that Klug was not told by the government what to do as a private citizen. So it's not a violation of your rights, because in your job as a government employee, we have expectations of you. As a private citizen, you can say whatever you want. So then he tried to sue the school for religious discrimination, and that's what just got thrown out earlier this month. So I just love that this guy has just been dunked on. He's just been dunked on twice. Armin, would you like to explain this meme that you're pulling up?
I think it's self-explanatory.
Well, no, for the people who are listening.
Oh, you explain it then.
Okay. Armin has pulled up a GIF of Walter White from Breaking Bad, just ominously saying, "Say my name."
All right. I just want to use this as an opportunity to remind the progressives that you see defending private institutions' rights to have standards without government being able to force them to do something. It's not always anti-progressive, okay? So you can see how it could be helpful, all right? So to tell people like this is an institute. I mean, okay, it's not. You're saying it's not private.
It's a public school district.
Okay, still, I'm still gonna fight that. I'm still gonna defend their rights to be able to have standards. Whatever institution, you should be able to say it's not anti-freedom. Okay, it's not against your goddamn freedom. If an institution tells you that this is not how you behave here, okay? People are like, my freedom, my First Amendment, what happened to freedom of speech? Again, try going into any institution and swearing like a sailor, and then if they fire you, it's not a violation of your free speech. They could be like, this is the place you work, these are the standards that you have to abide by while you're working here. You know why your free speech has not been violated? Because you could say the same things without fear of penalty from the government while you're not working here. Okay? You could be a bigot all you like when you're not working here. When we fire you, okay, we'll fire you. And then once you don't have a job here, go be a bigot. See if the government is going to chase you. They're not. Okay? Go and be like, oh, I'm going to misgender people all the time. I just want to be like, all my religious freedom, blah, blah. Yeah, you have your religious freedom, but we don't owe you a job while you're being a bigot because of your religious reasoning, okay? Your freedom of speech doesn't mean that you have the right to say whatever you want while maintaining a job here. That is not a violation of your free speech, okay? I don't know how people don't understand this. Like, oh my God, my free speech has been violated. No, you can still say those things. You haven't gone to jail.
Yeah.
The government hasn't sent you a fine.
But you don't have to work for us. We don't have to work for you. I'm actually amazed that this public school first tried to come up with a compromise with this teacher first. When he proved himself, firstly, he issues a letter to the school just calling it a sin, which, I mean, granted, this is America, like... and in Indiana. So, I feel like I'm making a little bit of an assumption that there is a little bit more of okay, we'll try to make things work, instead of like, you're making it very clear how biased you are and that you're unwilling to follow this policy because of your personal beliefs. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I would not want to work with that person. But yes, I just love, dunking on fools like this. I don't understand why some Christians think it is such an offense to them, like personally, to just call a trans person, how they experience themselves. Like it's my understanding. Okay, I don't do theology. Is that it's not actually, you're not committing a sin if you just call a person how they want to be called. Through that worldview, it's that person who is living, in these skewed gender ideas they're the one committing the sin. They're the one not living according to the biblical gender roles. Like, so what does it matter to you if you just call them what they want? It drives me crazy. But this guy didn't win, so I'm happy. He lost twice, actually.
Honestly, I kind of like the trash taking out itself. You know what I mean? Just, keep being yourself. You're helping us. Keep being the way you are. Keep being bigots. You're doing our anti-religion marketing for us. We don't have to lift a finger.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. So can we? I'm hearing a bit echo. Is it just me? I think it's just me, guys. Guys, no. Well, don't Sus, don't mute yourself.
Okay.
Sus all you want, but unmute yourself. Test. Guys, did you hear an echo? Anyways, let me know in the live chat. No echo. Okay, so it's just me. All right. Can we clap for the next news?
Yes.
Next news.
Next news. Top Catholic official resigns after being caught using gay dating apps. This is a scandal. And I have an Atheist Republic exclusive that shocked me, by the way. So stay tuned. On July 20th, Archbishop Jose Gomez announced the resignation of Monsignor Jeffrey Burrill, the General Secretary of the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, or USCCB, referencing Burrill's presence on gay dating apps like Grindr. His position as the General Secretary of the U.S. Conference of Bishops allowed Burrill to hold and organize various administrative functions within the conference, as well as organizing or involving organizing the Catholic Church's responses to sexual misconduct claims. A report from the Catholic news site The Pillar claimed to have found evidence that the Monsignor engaged in and maintained, quote, serial sexual misconduct while he held a critical oversight role in the Catholic Church's response to the recent spate of sexual abuse and misconduct scandals. The report linked his phone data to him, which showed daily use of Grindr from 2018 to 2020. This use even happened while in his office at USCCB and USCCB owned residences.
It was for research purposes only. How dare you?
They were even able to identify that he went to specific bathhouses.
It was for research purposes only. He had to see in person. He was trying to save them. Okay. He was trying to meet them. Hey, Jesus spent most of his time with sinners. In the modern time, where are the sinners in modern times?
Bathhouses.
They'd be at Grindr and Grindr. He was being Jesus-y. He was just hanging out with the most sinful.
He has to meet people where they're at. He's saying, I'm in charge of overseeing, misconduct scandals in the Catholic Church, or I'm involved in a high level in that, and I need to be very well involved with my subject matter. I need to know.
Right. He should have been taking notes and be like, this is just for research, okay? And then if he partakes, then he was like, I need to see how this feels so I could relate to the sinful nature of how pleasurable this is. I need to experience the pleasure so I could understand the nature of the sin and could relate to these sinful people to save them, okay? I'm taking it up the butt for Jesus, basically.
Whoa. No. Speaking of, so when we posted this on our Facebook page, someone in the comments said he's high ranking. He's not a top administrative official. There's an important difference. And I'm like, okay, I don't have enough characters to say high ranking, whatever. But then someone commented that and saying, you're right. He probably is. He's probably a bottom, not a top.
I mean, hey, no shaming if you're bottom. I'm not shaming bottoms.
I just thought that was a funny play on words. It was just like, you're right. He's not. Yeah, he was trying to beat them and show them the love of Jesus. But are you guys ready for my shocking Atheist Republic exclusive?
No. Let's read this comment before you get this.
The rabid atheist was saying he was trying to meet them and show them the love of Jesus.
Yes, may the love of Jesus come inside of you.
Whoa. It's really funny to note that when they announced that he was resigning, they explicitly said that it did not include allegations of misconduct with minors. because they knew, like, which is so telling that they have to go out of their way to say that.
It's assumed unless told otherwise.
That's how bad things are.
That's wow.
Just pack it up and go home. Shut the doors. Go home.
The image of the Catholic Church is so bad when the Catholic Church itself has to clarify, guys, this time, I know it's not the case often, but this time there were no minors. Wow. They know how bad it is. They themselves like guys, we look bad. We are, nobody likes us.
Like, because I don't know any other organization where there's, sexual misconduct of some form, and they have to get ahead of the course ahead of the cart, saying that this didn't involve children. What was very interesting was I read this report by The Pillar, and they put out this memo because The Pillar approached the Conference of Bishops saying, we've obtained data that correlates to this person's phone. So they said that they had procured, through ways that don't quite make sense to me, commercially available phone data that correlated to him. So and then I saw other Catholic news agencies talking about, well, they were trying to like downplay it, being, of course, we're all sinners, okay? We're all sinners. And, why, you're violating various forms of canon law to put this information out there. Okay, that's one thing. But then they were also talking about the journalistic ethics of procuring this data that they are saying correlates to this individual. And at that point, the Pillar, this news site, approached the Conference of Bishops for comment. And then before they could get a full comment, the conference went ahead and issued this memo before the report was out to try to get ahead of it. So I don't know. I find that very weird. Like, how did they even get this phone data? How did they know to look for it? Why would they be looking for it? How would they know to to look for this person? Because then they have to look at this data and then correlate it to different locations where they would presumably have to know where he had been. But it's not too difficult when the locations are literally like active, and it's like their campus, like their Conference of Bishops campus at their residences, so it's someone there, but I don't know how they identified him in particular.
I don't know. It's easy. These things are easy. The information is available. Mm-hmm. That's why I just assume that everything I do will be public. So, and I'm okay with it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, nobody can shame me for the things I like. But go on.
Well, I have a bombshell.
Go on.
This person will be completely anonymous. A close member of the Atheist Republic community, when they saw this news, told me that they matched with this guy on Grindr.
No way.
Yes.
Wait.
When they were like around 20 years old.
Oh wow. And did he do anything about it? Like
No,
just matched on. Just matched. Okay. That's pretty
I was
cool.
like, what?
Wait, how does he know it was him? Wait, does he have his pig face on there? Because that's if yes, he would have been caught eventually. Obviously, like, you can see his face on his profile picture?
I think so.
Wait, so you're wondering how this guy got caught and how did they know to look for him? Of course, if you have your face there, somebody eventually is going to know that this is you. I assume people just put like D pics without their faces. No, is that not how they do it?
It was a different app. I got confused. Well, I don't know about other apps, so it wasn't Grindr, but I know on Grindr it's a lot of torso shots.
Okay, see, that's what I assume. People don't put their faces there. Yeah.
I actually haven't used it. Believe it or not, I haven't used Grindr before, so I don't know what to expect in this community in terms of how.
Wait,
people
is
advertise.
Grindr only for gay men or also for gay women?
It's originally for gay men, but I think they've changed their policies recently to be more gender expansive, which has involved a lot of controversy.
Oh.
But it's I generally think of it as an app for like masculine people looking for like masculine ass people.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to the next news. All right. Can we clap for the next news?
Let's clap because we are celebrating someone's life.
Next news.
Next news. Danish creator of famed Muhammad cartoon, Kurt Westergaard, dies at 86. So, Kurt Westergaard, a Danish cartoonist from the Jyllands-Posten newspaper since the 1980s, passed away at the age of 86. In 2005, Jyllands-Posten published Westergaard's controversial images of the Prophet Muhammad. One of the caricatures depicted the Prophet wearing a turban shaped like boom boom. I can't say the real word on YouTube because of the algorithm. I'm sure you all know what image I'm talking about. Westergaard had intended for his cartoons to highlight the fearful self-censorship regarding criticism of Islam. These cartoons caused great consternation among Muslims across the world, causing waves of violence that resulted in more than 250 reported deaths. This included attacks on Danish and other European diplomatic missions, attacks on churches and Christians, and a boycott of Danish goods. The attacks also ignited an uptick in death threats against Westergaard. According to Reuters in 2008, Kurt Westergaard stated that he has no regrets about his artwork and he, quote, wants to be remembered as someone who struck a blow for freedom of speech. So I just wanted to take this opportunity. I think it's important to celebrate the lives of people who have changed our world, fought for secularism, and fought for free expression in a way that few other people have. His images, his drawings are iconic. For many people, when you think of depiction of the Prophet, what comes to your mind is probably one of his cartoons. His cartoons, like I said, he intended them to fight self-censorship and regarding, especially in the West, a willingness to criticize Islam as easily and as eagerly as we criticize, Christianity. And, simply through these drawings, they've sparked global conversation in a way that almost nothing else has. And I think I wanted to honor him on the show today and his contributions. And I can't remember exactly what his cause of death was, but it was, kind of more old age related stuff. It's not like he was hurt or anything. Blank Name is saying, respect. He was such an amazing secularist. I saw his interview when he explained his intention. Yeah, if you guys, all the sources are in the description. If you want to watch, you can see here, we have a little video that kind of talks about him and his life and what he contributed. It's obviously, he was a very controversial figure for a lot of people. And he even understood that he was a very hated figure to millions of people around the world, but he had no regrets about the statement that he was trying to make.
I don't think a lot of people understand the significance of what he did when it comes to fighting for free speech, because if you think about it now, like it was like when Salman Rushdie wrote his book, there wasn't that much defense for him. Like it was understood by many Western liberals and leftists and other people that, yeah, this is not like, you shouldn't do this, right? Like the idea, there were some defense for him, but a lot of people think like accepted that the standards, the rules of some religious groups, has to apply because they're like a minority and we want to protect diversity and people's feelings and all. Then the rules of freedom of speech and liberty has to take a back seat in favor of not hurting the feelings of certain groups of people, right? And that was like the norm, the understanding. Like these countries that were supposed to be at the front of fighting for freedom of expression and protecting people, artists, and journalists and writers, they had a couple of exceptions, and that was the norm until this guy showed up and he drew his Muhammad, right? And the backlash to him was also very huge. But the reaction, the people who were on the other side, they were like, you know what? No, your rule applies to you. You don't get to force this. You don't get to intimidate these rules on the rest of us. Initially, it seemed like the people who were against them the movement was so massive that you didn't think that this is something is going to grow out of this, right? But eventually, this led to more and more people are like, you know what, we are going to draw Muhammad, right? Like, what the hell is up with this, right? So, unlike the Salman Rushdie's book, where eventually it didn't lead to the final result of that was mostly people being on the side of suppression. What he did eventually started a movement of more and more people saying like, you don't get to enforce your rules on us, right? And it even led to an annual event of Draw Muhammad Day, right? And if you look at the results, like this is the case that will always be used as demonstration that blasphemy works, right? Because a lot of people say like they look at the short-term results and they're like, look, if you do this, the immediate consequences are this, and the cost is too high to bear, and we need to give in to the demands of these people because they are using intimidation, and the intimidation works, and they get rewarded by the fact that the intimidation works and use more intimidation tactics, right? So people are saying like, but we had victims, so we shouldn't do this because look at the victims, people suffered. Like, no, by giving into intimidation tactics, you are encouraging more behavior like this. The intimidation will continue, you will have more victims, and the demands will become more and more. Like, it's not going to be like, oh, okay, you're not going to draw Muhammad, we're good now. No, because they observe that the intimidation works, then they're going to ask for more and more and more things using intimidation tactics. And while they're using their intimidation tactics, more people are going to be the victim. So this is again the case for blasphemy. Is like a lot of people think like we are being provocateurs, right? When we are like doing our blasphemy, provocateurs with no purpose. But again, if you look at the case that was made here, we see now the level of sensitivity when it comes to drawing Muhammad has been reduced dramatically because of events like Drawing Muhammad Day, because of some people saying like, you don't get to tell us what, if you're offended by something, that's okay. You get to not watch something, you get to not read something, you get to not look at something, but you don't get to tell us not to produce that content. In fact, when you are trying to use intimidation tactic, we're going to double down. We're going to double down just to make sure you see that these tactics don't work. We have to make sure that we double down, because if you feel like you have won with your intimidation, more people are going to be be motivated to do so, right? So, when somebody like Hamed Mehta accuses us of being just provocateurs because we just want to annoy people, we just want to be like hurt people, they're completely missing the point. Look at what this accomplished. Look at what Drawing Muhammad Day accomplishes. Look at what an art piece like Piss Jesus, right? Is that what it's called? The
Piss
whole
Christ.
point is
Immersion.
Piss Christ, right? Yes. The whole point is like, the message is not like, it's not people. I have to admit, we have a lot of sadists, right? There are people who like get a kick out of seeing Muslims unhappy. That's not us, okay? The point is not to make people upset. The point is not like, oh, I see this hurts you. I see this offends you. I'm going to poke you exactly where it hurts the most because I enjoy watching you upset. That is not the point. If that is your motivation, that is sadistic. Okay? The point is like, if this upsets you, it's your responsibility not to see it. If you want to come and intimidate us not to produce this thing because it upsets you, now we have a duty to make it 1,000 times worse, because we have to send a signal that your intimidation tactics doesn't work, so as to not motivate you to use the same tactics again. All right? So I hope people understand this. The fact that these people get upset about it, that's something that happens that is not the actual intention. And I don't see how people, here's the thing, people see this so obviously when it's happening from people who they're aligned with do it, right? Like someone like Himad Mehta who comes and tells us that we're being provocateurs with no reason, just because, I don't know, we're desecrating the Quran, for example. They wouldn't have the same standard for piss Christ, right?
Well,
they wouldn't have that.
Him in particular said that it was when the Satanic Temple is doing provocative advertising, and then they're not allowed to because they're satanic, which is discrimination.
Mm-hmm.
He understands.
Yes.
Suddenly.
Yeah, exactly. He actually says like, oh, when they're provoking, he says provoking is actually a good tool. In fact, he encourages it. But when we desecrate the Quran, he says like, oh, you guys are just being provocateurs, right? But again, this man is a legend. He did it when it was like, imagine all the, when people came after us, how much isolated we felt, and how many the people who used to be our friends abandoned us, and we felt like, oh my, like we said, you know what? I know our friend, like, seems like Seth Andrew was against us, him and Mehta was against us. So many other people who were on our side were against us, and they were like, this is not the right way. We could have just bent the knee and be like, you know what? We're losing too many friends, and be like, okay, fine, we're not going to do this. But we doubled down. We're like, no, we know this is the right way of doing things. We continue doing our thing, right? But imagine how much that was just losing a couple of friends or losing a couple of allies, right? Especially people that we celebrate, like people that I admire, like Seth Andrews telling us like this is not the right way, right? But imagine how alone we felt at that time. Imagine this guy. Imagine the whole world coming demonizing him, right? And he stuck. He continued. He stuck to it. It didn't make him like, this man is a legend, right? This man did this. Like, we are, a lot of us, like the people who did Dry Muhammad Day, the people who did other things, they came after a wave that was already being normalized. We are like much farther down the road. He was at the front lines and he took all the bullets. These are the people who normalized blasphemy for the rest of us to follow. This man was a legend. I don't know, he needs to be celebrated. I hope he could, he's like a hero.
Yeah, obviously, we are involved in taking up the mantle. Like, when I study queer history, I think of political ancestors. I think of ideological ancestors. Obviously, Kurt Westergaard is a huge activism like ancestor to us, and is one of the people who put this idea onto the global stage and caused more people to think about these issues than ever before. What are the stakes, and what is the moral imperative of blasphemy? I could just talk about this forever because it's something that I'm so passionate about. But yeah, I wanted to make sure that we honored his legacy today and acknowledged everything that he's contributed to our movement.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you did this. By the way, ever since Susie has picked up our news articles have become so much like she's working with our author and everything. Look how well sourced everything is. Like, look at our Atheist Republic's articles. Look what, like, everything we're saying is like, we used to not source things very well, But now every time you check one of our articles, everything is backed up by a source. Everything is clickable. Look at all these, look at all this, right?
Well, it is only because of our patron support that we've been able to grow our team, that I have so many people on our news team that help me with this. Like, it's not just me and Armin. It's not just, and Rivka. We have almost 8 people who work on everything coming together to make this happen. There's a lot of hands that this all passes through. So yeah.
So thank you to our patrons who are supporting us and letting us. And go check out our website. The news section of it is pretty good. Like, if you guys want to be updated on the news, and leave some comments in the news section. But look at this. Anyways, oh wait, can we clap for the next?
Tease. Let's clap for the next.
Oh, wait. Before say, if you want to be a patron, link is in the description. If you want to support Atheist Republic. Okay, go
on. Let's clap for the next news just because it's hilarious.
Next news.
Anti-abortion group protests Biden's CNN event hosted at a Catholic school. The outrage. And when I was reading this and I opened it and I saw the picture that our editor chose for the picture of Biden, I started laughing so hard. Look at his dejected face. He's like, oh.
Wait, who picked the picture? That's pretty good.
Yeah, well, our editor.
Nice.
Just this kind of sad Joe Biden. Okay, anyways.
Sadly.
President Joe Biden has made it clear that he supports the government protecting abortion rights, although he is personally opposed to the procedure. The Catholic Church is not content with the current president's stance on abortion, and neither are many American Catholics. A pro-life group based in Ohio called Right to Life of Greater Cincinnati, or RTLGC, met Biden's recent CNN town hall at Mount St. Joseph University with protests. RTLGC stated that Biden demolished Trump's legacy by forming a, quote, radically pro-abortion cabinet. On their website, based on their website, RTLGC called out to the public, asking them to join their protest. The Catholic University released a statement after the news of the anti-abortion group's plan to protest Biden's presence. The school emphasized that they have, quote, always been and will continue to be a diverse and inclusive place where people from different races, ethnicities, social backgrounds, beliefs, and religions can come together to discuss and share their unique perspectives.
I mean, if you're making Biden more popular, I don't know if these people understand that they're making Biden more popular. Do you guys know the Catholic, any Catholic institution, you guys don't have the popularity and the public image required for you to make somebody unpopular by protesting against them, okay?
How dare you?
I don't know if you guys noticed, but the Catholic, Catholic brand as a whole is so down the toilet.
It's suffering.
Yeah, I mean, you opposing somebody is like an endorsement. That's how it operates, okay? You opposing something, people are like, oh, I didn't like Biden before, but if he's making Catholics upset, I guess he must be doing something right. I know, right? So, I mean, this is so good because one thing a lot of atheists and secularists want to use against Biden is the fact that he's Catholic, right? But they can't do that because the Catholics are constantly protesting him. So the secularists and the atheists who want to be like, oh, Biden, he's a Catholic.
Beat us to it.
Yeah, no, like the atheists want to like somehow like they have an anti-Biden agenda and they want to like market that among atheists and secularists. You should hate Biden because he's a Catholic. Like they can't do that because of the amount of anti-Catholics who are coming out against him. Like, well, I mean, he's a Catholic, but he's pissing off Catholics. So I guess I don't know. If this many and atheists and secularists are like, if this many Catholics are upset, I don't know what he's doing, but it must be good. But go on.
The atheists are all confused, like trying to do like the mental calculation. Like I don't even know, man. He's a Catholic, but he's also being takfired by the other Catholics.
Yeah, like we'll have him. Like if Catholic, well, the secularists, and you don't want him, we'll take him. But
yeah, like
Grandpa Biden.
I don't like personally how often Biden references religion. Like I remember, I don't know if it's still the case, but for a long time, his like banner on Twitter during the election was just "keep the faith," and I'm like, why is a Democratic nominee just proclaiming "keep the faith"? Like that turned me off. Anyways, but he is very much in practice like a very good at being a secularist in a lot of ways. So I will give him credit for that. But so at the time that we published this on our webpage, the protest hadn't happened yet, but now it has happened. And guys, I found pictures.
Wait, before you bring the pictures, I want to say that when they say that, oh, you have ruined Trump's legacy, is that what they said? I like, you say that as if it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
like wow, Biden ruined Trump's legacy. Like,
thank you, Daddy Biden.
Thank you, Daddy Biden. Like, you guys really not thinking this is not the effect you think it's gonna have. Anyways, it's gonna backfire on you. But go
this is not the own you think it is.
Oh that's perfect. Yeah, this is not the guts you think it is.
Yeah, exactly. So I found photos of this protest. Are we ready to dig through this?
Yes.
Okay, because this is hilarious. Okay, so here we have some people with signs that say, "Hey Joe, how much Adderall did they give you? Joe, if you resign, I'll let you sniff my hair."
Hey, there's an offer. Yeah.
But it was also funny to me to see how it's just a lot of it was just Trumpian. Like it's almost all Trumpian. Look at this flag. Jesus is my savior. Trump is my president. What?
Look at this. All of this is going to make Biden look better. You guys are not you guys are going to make Biden look cooler than he is.
Yeah, right.
Like this is a pro. These people don't understand. These are pro Biden ads. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. This quote, very disappointed in the university, a Catholic university. Biden believes in abortion and Catholics do not. So no, I'm really not happy. So that's why I'm here with my Trump flag, hoping to get him back in office. Okay, but this is so stupid because he said that he doesn't believe in abortion. He doesn't like it. He's just not going to use his position as a government official to assert his will on the people. Because that's
it's
not
okay, but
secular.
It's okay, Biden. Nobody's gonna force you to have an abortion. But
look at this. It's so weird, like to make this issue like an Americanism issue. And they had a candle service for the unborn. And a crowd of about a dozen protesters. More than double within an hour. Okay. Many more people waving Trump 2024 flags. So it was a pretty small protest. And presumably the rest of the CNN town hall went off pretty well. Yeah. Yeah, I just thought that this was hilarious. It's like...
All right, can I highlight something? Oh, wait, stay there. One thing, okay? Mm-hmm. At least these people are not as delusional as some other people. They're saying like Trump 2024. They're not saying Trump August 2021. Right?
Well, I'm not too sure about this lady over here. It says Trump is my president.
Oh, okay.
I'm a little. This isn't passing the sniff test. This isn't.
Okay.
Something is.
Yeah, you're right. I wanna highlight in the comment. Look at this. Joe Biden is not my president. How do you say this guy's name? Because Ramana Kovind is. That's really good. I like that joke. That joke never gets old. All right. Let me bring this back up.
It's so funny because I actually don't know what the statistics on this are, but I never perceived Trump as having a strong Catholic base. Like I know that the real like traditional Catholics, like the trad Caths, Like they can get pretty Trumpian, but I don't think that traditional Catholics are actually a large percentage of American Catholics. Like American Catholics are some of the most like liberal, progressive Catholics in the world. I don't know the exact percentages on, you know, what the breakdown is, but that's my sense. Then again, I did grow up in a Seattle Catholic community, so it's going to be more liberal than most.
Yes, lived experience, you know. And
Yeah.
It doesn't. I do. What?
Throwing out that the same. Joe Biden's hair sniff test. Yep, ovulating.
Okay, you should read the jokes. You deliver them a lot better than I do. Oh, yeah.
It's because I was a theater kid. That's my dirty secret.
Read this one.
The rabid atheist is saying the traditional Catholics like him, but they are minority. Evangelicals, however, love the guy. Well, that's well documented. The evangelical obsession with Trump is. It's
all right.
It's as American as apple pie.
Can we clap for the next news?
Yes.
Next news.
Ex-Muslims call out Facebook. New hate speech policy or blasphemy law. So I would never miss an opportunity to highlight the work of ex-Muslims of North America, and I really wanted to share this with you guys. In a press release posted on the Ex-Muslims of North America's website, the organization's director, Sarah Hayter, responded to a letter from the Director of Content Policy Stakeholder Engagement for Facebook, who is Peter Stern. In her response, Hayter explained how and why Facebook's new content policy is facilitating harm for marginalized groups such as atheists and other non-religious communities. Hayter stated that instead of putting forward plans to reconsider and review the new content policies, Facebook has instead doubled down on their implementation. Facebook's new content policy on hate speech explicitly states not to post, quote, content attacking concepts, institutions, ideas, practices, or beliefs associated with protected characteristics. This new policy is fundamentally against the well-known tenet of mindful criticism, i.e., human beings have rights, ideas do not.
This is so great. Okay, so first of all, people have to understand that ex-Muslims of North America, they are like taking a lead in so many, like they are at the front lines at fighting the normalization of censoring speech on Facebook and other places, right? Like nobody is so on the ball with, you know, this, because if you look at the other people who are doing this, they completely miss the point. They're using this language as if like making it about oppressing right-leaning people or Republicans or something. They're missing the point, and because of the bad arguments they make or because of the ridiculous nature of the requests that they have, it's just they're so easily dismissed and they're so easily ridiculed, and you know, they're not a good image for actually trying to fight against the amount of censorship that is on social media, right? It's not a good image, and they make horrible argument and they look ridiculous and they're horrible for our cause, right? When it comes to an organization that you could actually support that is making sense and they have good criticism and don't make those of us who want less censorship not look bad. If you want to support an organization that actually is fighting the fight in a more sane way than these right-leaning loons, then support Ex-Muslims of North America. This is the organization, and I don't know how, but they keep finding like people that really matter. Like they have connections and they are becoming more and more influential, and I love it because they are, without asking for it, these people are like fighting for us, right? Like they're coming and finding cases. Like so many times, like we try to like so many different pages or YouTube channels and Twitter accounts that get removed for blasphemy, right? Without violating any of like rules on Facebook and Twitter or YouTube. You know, you have to like seem to beg people to pay attention to this, and then nobody does. But ex-Muslims of North America, they come reach to you. It's amazing. They're like, what happened? Tell us. We need to make a case against Twitter, against Facebook, or against YouTube. Like, they are taking an active approach, like instead of like just waiting for people to ask. I don't know how they find the resources to do this, but they need more resources to do this even more. Okay, so go donate to ex-Muslims of North America. I'm really grateful for this. I do want to address the people who might think like I'm being a hypocrite on this when it comes to me saying like private company and free speech and all. I do want to address that, but you seem to want to say something before I get to that.
I was just going to dive into the actual new policy in more detail, but you go first.
All right. So I have been very clear, like a lot of times when we complain about, like, me and Susie lost our Twitter accounts, right? And there's nothing on Twitter that on Twitter's community guidelines that we violated. Absolutely not. Like, I thought I might be biased, so I've asked other people to be objective, look at this, and anybody that has looked at this, even people who are pro censorship, they were like looking at this, like, yeah, this is not violating any of Twitter's community standards. You've been removed for blasphemy. Okay, we have been getting strikes on our Facebook page, specifically because people are offended. Like, it's not anything, it's not hate speech, it's not anything like that. And YouTube, we're getting strikes. Not only it was not hate speech, if we got strikes on YouTube for videos that were anti-hate speech, protecting minority rights, just because the language we use or the people who we were highlighting seemed like maybe the algorithm picked up that this is hate speech, and the appeals were rejected in seconds. So fast that there is no way that any human actually reviewed our appeals, right? Like, there were videos that we were actually fighting for minority rights against hate speech got flagged as hate speech, okay? And when we complain about these things, people are like, well, Armin, this is a private company, and you said so, that private companies get to have standards of themselves and nobody gets to force them this and this and that, right? But it's funny that they say that, because I, at least, have never claimed that our free speech has been violated.
Yep.
Okay. I don't know what I know. A lot of our fans then come and tell us that your Atheist Republic's free speech has been violated. We complain about these censorship, about the way that we're being treated, without claiming that our free speech has been violated. Guys, I want you to be able to work as if you have more than one brain cell. Okay. When we say something is bad, we're not saying our rights have been violated. These things are not the same, right? If I say our rights have not been violated, it doesn't mean it was a good decision. Okay? If you still have a hard time understanding this, let me give you an example for the people who are maybe just half a brain cell. Okay? If I go to a restaurant and pay for food, and then the food comes and I taste it and I don't like it, if I complain about that, I'm not claiming that my free speech has been violated. Oh, I'll be right back.
What?
Someone's at my door, that's why.
Okay. In that case, I will go into this content policy in a little bit more detail. So when explaining it just at the top of the news, I gave kind of a more summarized version. Now I want to actually give you the content policy in full so we can be more clear and transparent about it. Do you want to continue or should I continue?
No, let me finish this stuff.
Okay.
Sorry, somebody had to, I got mail. So, what was the example I was giving for the people that have a brain cell? So I'm opening my mail while I'm explaining this. I was saying, like, you could complain about a company's behavior because, let me do a Venn diagram for you, okay? Violating my rights, every other behavior that is bad, okay? You see this? This is a smaller circle, is violating my rights. This circle of violating my rights is within a circle of everything else that could be wrong that is not violating my rights, okay? It's possible for an action to be in this bigger circle without it being in the smaller circle. Do you understand how Venn diagrams work, okay? So if I go to a restaurant, like this restaurant is supposed to give me food. I was expecting a food that I could enjoy today. Okay. And I bring me food and I taste it. I like this tastes like crap. I'm going to complain about this. I'm going to leave you a bad review. Imagine how ridiculous it is if somebody comes and says, well, your right wasn't violated. You don't have a right to good food. It's not in the Constitution of the United States that says that you are to have a delicious food every time you go to a restaurant. That is not a right within your Constitution. Like, I didn't say it was. I'm not saying my rights were violated. I just don't like what this company is doing or what this private, and I'm complaining about it. I get to complain about things that are not being done right, even if my right was not violated. Okay. If you order something on Amazon and it's broken, your rights have not been violated. But you could be like, hey, give me a goddamn refund. Your rights have not been violated. Okay. So if I say Facebook, we go on Facebook and we, as a page that has 2 million followers, we're not enjoying our experience because we can't tell what we are supposed to do to stay on this platform, because everything we do, like, it's just random. The strikes that we get is not based on your community standards, and it seems like you're enforcing blasphemy laws. This is not a good way to treat us. Like, if you're like this, YouTube, you're not treating your content creators well. This is not a proper way for you to treat your content creators. If you say Twitter, you're letting ethno-nationalists enforce their bigotry on your platform. They're removing us because they don't like us, and you're giving in to them. This is not cool. If we say that, we're not saying our rights have been violated. We're just saying this is horrible. We're just saying this is a bad experience for us. Fix this. This is a broken, this thing is broken. We're like, fix this. Again, we're not saying our rights have been violated. That's one argument. Another point I want to make is our rights have not been violated. However, some people are arguing that maybe we should have rights that this would be a violation of, right? So as of right now, okay, this is not a violation of our rights. But some people are suggesting, okay, that given how much social media has become the public sphere, okay, so right now free speech laws doesn't protect you from you being removed by Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube on their platform. It doesn't protect you. So your free speech hasn't been violated. But given how free speech laws made sense, given that the whole point of free speech laws is that governments were so powerful that they shouldn't be able to dictate who says what, because the free flow of information that is required for a free and democratic society will be threatened if something as powerful as the entity that is a government gets to decide who gets to say what. Okay, that was the point of free speech laws. Well, now, given that most conversations are happening on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, maybe that same case could be made for these powerful entities. Okay, so maybe we need something beyond free speech laws that also limits how these companies get to say what we get to say and what we're not to say. So again, discussion, point number one is that even if this is not a violation of our right, this is still censorship in a way that we think is not right. Second, it might make sense for us to introduce laws that, like free speech laws, would make this a violation of our rights. Maybe that's a bad idea. Maybe it is a good idea. I don't know the full consequences of that. However, suggesting that does not mean that right now you think your rights are being violated. You're saying that you wanted to create a situation that maybe if they did this, your rights. You're basically arguing for rights that you do not have. This is basically, these are the rights that we don't have. We don't have the legal right to stay on these people's platform. We don't have that legal right. But some people are saying, like, given how much that this is the public sphere now, maybe it should turn into a right in the future. That's an argument people are making. Suze, you want to say something?
Yeah, so I wanted to actually dive into this new policy at Facebook. because I think it's important to be specific. When I was explaining it at the top of the news, I was a little bit more brief, and now I want to be precise. So it is, quote, creating a community standard that bans, quote, content attacking concepts, institutions, ideas, practices, or beliefs associated with protected characteristics which are likely to contribute to imminent physical harm, intimidation, or discrimination. This, and then to quote from the press release on XMNA's website, quote, this is a departure from the previous policy, which rightfully protected individuals, but allowed for persecuted groups, such as ex-Muslims, to speak out against the harmful or discriminatory practices of religious institutions. So obviously, as atheists who criticize dogma, this is a huge concern to us. And as someone who is in charge of managing our Facebook page and managing every instance of when we receive incorrect strikes on our page for stuff that isn't actually a violation of TOS, this is very worrying to me, because it does have this stipulation where it says, oh, you know, when this content is likely to contribute to imminent physical harm, intimidation, or discrimination. You know, some people might say, oh, well, that's a little bit of a protective factor. You know, they say that it's supposed to only apply in extreme cases, according to Facebook. But based on our experiences and the experiences of many, many other people at Facebook, we are very fearful about when they will actually enact this policy. We do not trust their discretion to know when it is, you know, one of these extreme instances. Like, when I saw this, I was like, oh, so our whole page is like up for grabs, because the stuff that gets flagged on Facebook as a violation is absolutely ridiculous, and there's no recourse, and it's very difficult to find people to talk to address this, to get a human to say, you know what, this isn't actually a violation of our policy. But until then, you're going to be suffering the consequences on your page, with your access, or even very harsh restrictions on your account and your ability to even communicate with people on the platform. So this is obviously a big problem. It affects a lot of people. And as proponents of the idea of criticizing ideas, you know, and very thoroughly, and always remembering that humans have rights, but ideas do not. This attitude of this new content policy flies in the face of that. So I'm very happy to highlight what organizations like XMNA are doing to fight back against these policies, raise awareness within these companies about why this can be harmful to the minorities within the minority, like ex-Muslims. Because it's probably the case that, you know, the content policy directors at Facebook aren't aware of the situations like this and what this could mean for severely persecuted minorities like ex-Muslims, as an example. So I'm going to post the press release from XMNA in the live chat right now, and I encourage everyone to go check it out for yourselves and go support XMNA.
Yes, please. Yes, go do that. This is it's on their own website. That's pretty good. Is there a way? Okay. By the way, you don't need to include anything after the.
I know.
The question mark, because the URL gets very big. What was I saying? So what is it? Can you repeat the policy? The new policy, the new community standard, and this is the new Facebook's new community standard as of when? How long has this been?
On July 6th is when his director wrote to Sarah Hayter specifically outlining this new policy, banning attacks against religious institutions.
No, sorry. Oh. Okay. My question was, when is this community standard like publicly on Facebook, as of when?
I actually don't know that off the top of my head.
Okay, but it's recent. It's like this. It's very recent. What was the policy again? Like, we can't. Basically, the new community standard is that we can't just criticize. Can you read that again? That part?
Yeah. It's in effect. I just can't. I don't know exactly when it was issued. So, it is creating community content standard that bans, quote, content attacking concepts, institutions, ideas, practices, or beliefs associated with the protected characteristics, which are likely, this is the key part, which are likely to contribute to imminent physical harm, intimidation, or discrimination.
Yeah, I mean, who's gonna decide the likely part? How are they gonna decide the likely part? Because I don't know, like we could
I
say
don't trust
we could
their
like
discretion.
hold on. We could basically like talk about the crimes of the Catholic Church, like the way that they, and highlighting the fact that there were some church burnings, right, in Canada, right? Is the the fact that people are bringing attention to the history of the Catholic Church, for example, right? That led to probably led to the church buildings. Okay, we're not like nobody here or most people who were raising attention about the church burnings. Most people were not saying that intending for people to commit a crime like that, right?
Wait,
just
you mean people
yes?
who were highlighting the residential schools and then the fallout was the burnings?
Yeah,
the arson.
You could be attacking the Catholic Church without the intention of encouragement for people to go commit those crimes. But the thing is that highlighting what the church did in Canada, if it led to some other people burning down those churches, does that mean that you can't highlight what the Catholic Church is doing on Facebook because it had likely had an effect of it leading into some other people burning down the church? Like, do you see how you could connect everything together like this? I mean, Justin Trudeau, for example, had a video condemning the Catholic Church. Okay, given that highlighting these events led to those church burnings, does that mean like Justin Trudeau's video condemning the Catholic Church is now ban-worthy on Facebook? I don't understand how any of this works. It's just, I mean, and you could basically, it's just come out and say we can ban anybody with no reason, whatever we want. Just say that, because it's a more accurate description of what's happening. Like, we could just remove you and you don't have to explain to you. I mean, the only reason why they don't say that is because it just makes them look worse than they are, than what's happening, right? Because, when I say like, oh, here's on Twitter, when I say like, oh, here's an image of Sexy Callie, it looks great, and and then that tweet gets removed for hate speech, and then we appeal it to Twitter, and Twitter is like, sorry, your appeal was rejected, and like, but there's no connection to this, to any of your community standards. Them not responding to us means that we don't have to make a connection. We could just remove you. Like, hello, is this not clear to you? Like, yes, there's no connection, but we just willy-nilly, if you're being a headache to us, we can just remove you. But they can't say that, because then that's just horrible. That more apparent that how horrible of an experience it is for activists to be on their platform. They can't be transparent about how difficult it is for us. So they have to act like it's for hate speech. But when you ask for an explanation, there is no accountability. There's zero accountability. There's no transparency, no explanation, nobody to talk to unless you're a giant channel or a major company or organization. And again, this is why we need ex-Muslims of North America, because we can't go and hold somebody, hey, at least tell me what's happening. Like, I don't know why you're doing this. Like, at least talk to me, say something. There's like silence. There's nothing. There's nobody to address your issues, right? So this is why Ex-Muslims of North America is like the company that could be like, at least talk to us, right? Like, we want to, this is your house, your rules, but we don't know what your rules are. Like, okay, your rules are nonsensical, but we'll abide by them if we know what they are, because we're just getting strikes willy-nilly. We're losing our accounts just based on nothing. Like, maybe, like, how can we even play? How could you play this game that you don't know the rules of? Anyway, Suze.
Blank Name was asking a good question. He was saying, I can't find it in the chat. Oh, who are the protected groups? So protected groups are like protected classes, or like discrimination on the basis of sex, gender expression, sexuality, religion, national origin, immigration status, ethnicity, stuff like that. Things that are, well, not exactly, but kind of like
everyone is a protected group somewhere.
Yeah, and there's some part of your identity that is a protected group.
Like, this is what people don't understand. People are like, okay, we might not go, like, if you go anti-Catholic, we're not gonna, this is not hateful speech because they're not a protected group. But if you go against, if you speak against Islam, well, Muslims are a protected group, so that would be their way of saying this is hate speech. I'm like, okay, but Catholics are a protected group in Iran and Saudi Arabia
or Pakistan. Yeah, it's relative.
And Muslims are not a protected group in Iran or in Pakistan, depending on the kind of Muslim you are, right? So, I mean, everybody here is a protected group. If I put you in a certain place, like, there's not a single person that would not be a protected group based on something. If given the, I mean, last time I checked, Facebook was a global company that is like about speech everywhere. Like, this is how American centric all of this is. Like, people are like, oh, your guys are being bigots and all. No, you guys are being bigots. You're judging everything based on based on your American centric perspective of who's a protective group and who's not. Like, you guys are completely dismissing, like, what happened to, like, oh, lived experiences and blah blah blah. What about lived experiences of Christians and ex-Muslims in Islamic countries? Like, are you gonna be like, are you gonna protect hate speech against ex-Muslims? Are you going to protect the rights of ex-Muslims being able to speak their lived experiences with Islam? Like, is that not a minority that deserves? And again, this is why Ex-Muslims of North America is the perfect company to make this argument, because they're like, okay, you want to protect minority rights? Well, we're ex-Muslims, bitch. Are you going to protect our rights? Are you going to let us tell you about our experiences with Islam while feeling like this is a safe space for us to do so? Like, what about this minority, bitch? Like,
okay.
No, but I'm trying to not to use the words that makes YouTube, not make this, I want to swear so badly right now, but I'm holding back because YouTube's algorithm will suppress these videos even farther than they already are. But again, guys, this is everything has aligned perfectly. Okay, ex-Muslims of North America, they have the right identity to make this case. Okay, and they also have the right people, sane people that write beautifully and have the right connections. It's like everything the stars have aligned. Right, they have the right connections, they make the best argument, and they have the right identity to fight this fight. Okay, so go support them. Link in the description to this campaign, or this that they started. Go check it out, and you can sign it, right? Sign it and share it.
It's not a petition. It's just a press release.
It's not a petition? Okay, then share it then.
Yeah.
Share it. And if you're a journalist or a writer or a YouTuber or something, cover this, please. This really, we need this, okay? This is the right organization to make this case for us. All right.
Yes. And AGA is saying what I'm feeling, which is just I should go ahead and put myself in Facebook jail. I feel like we all feel that way right now.
Right. Actually, speaking of, this is a great segue to our next news, right?
As a matter of fact, it is.
Can we clap?
Yes.
Wait, that was pathetic. Next news.
Last news. Another legal complaint against atheist activist for Hindu goddess art. So Yeah, well,
This is a new one, guys. This is completely new.
On July 22nd, 2021, Atheist Republic received a letter containing a legal notice filed by Akhilesh Vyas, a lawyer based in India. The letter directed the complaint to Facebook and Twitter, demanding they remove the, quote, offensive posts by Atheist Republic and its founder, Armin Navabi. The complaint claims that Armin and Atheist Republic's goal is to, quote, willfully outrage and hurt the religious sentiments of the Hindus. Vyas's complaint also claims that Facebook officials are in... oh, shoot, I practiced this word beforehand. In cahoots. They're in cahoots. They're basically claiming that they are actually, they're connivance, that the Facebook officials are in connivance with Atheist Republic, allowing the latter to post illegal and malicious content. The complaint also highlighted that by maintaining the content on their platforms, Facebook and Twitter are in violation of Indian law, including the recently enacted information technology rules, and threatened the companies with further legal action. So I actually have this complaint right here.
Yeah? Show us.
I have 8 pages of this legal complaint.
This is the first time that they actually physically sent it to us. They felt the need to fit like that. We have gotten so many legal complaints over this. This is the 5th one, I think, right?
I've lost track. I think it's 5th, maybe 6th.
Okay, guys, for people who don't know, this is about us posting a picture of sexy Kali, just like a Hindu goddess, okay? This goddess, this image, posting this on Twitter has gotten us 5 or 6 official legal complaints. This is the first time that the legal company who filed this lawsuit, legal complaint, or is it lawsuit or legal?
It's a notice. It's not a lawsuit. It's just
a notice. This is the first time that they actually mailed the physical copy of it to us. They're like, we mean business this, okay? We're not just gonna like just tag you on Twitter and tell you that that this is you. There's a legal notice against you. We're gonna actually mail this to you so you guys know that we mean business. So
I was excited because usually they just tag us on Twitter or we find out through Indian news media. Well, okay, so technically it's not all. The 5 or 6 are not all legal complaints. Some were lawsuits involving us, but we're not the party of them. Like, we're just talking about general legal instances in India. Okay, some of them are like threatening to file FIR. Some of them, it's very diverse. But there's been many. Okay, and so what's interesting is that this is addressed to Facebook India and its appointed grievance officer, Armin Navabi, and Atheist Republic. And then it's also addressed to Twitter, India, and then Twitter itself in San Francisco, and then Twitter's interim grievance officer. And subject, legal notice for deleting the offensive content on your platform by Atheist Republic / Armin Navabi.
Wait, haven't they already deleted? Guys, I don't understand this legal complaint. They deleted the image. They deleted the image of the Hindu goddess. So what's the problem?
They blocked it.
But they completely removed my account on Twitter.
That's what doesn't make sense to me, is that you haven't been on Twitter since November of 2020. And we're still getting legal complaints and notices about you being on Twitter. I don't understand.
These people with the legal lawsuits managed to completely remove them from Twitter, but they're like, they're still gonna cry about it. I mean, what is this trying to accomplish other than all the legal notices that we got before? Like, what is this? What is this doing that the other ones didn't?
It's threats.
It's threats against Twitter.
Yeah.
So it's hard to blame Twitter because India is like a big country and you're getting so many legal notices, and they're like India's legal system, Armin and Susie. India's legal Twitter's like, India versus Armin and Susie. Okay, bye Armin and Susie. It was nice having you for a while on Twitter, but
Well, Twitter's
We
been in
can't-
hot water in India anyways. Like we covered a
Yeah.
few weeks ago how the police busted into their offices because they put a like manipulated media tag on like a spokesperson for BJP, like because that's how crazy things have gotten. Anyways, so guys, all the sources for our news are in the description. This is on our website. You can actually find the scanned document and you can read this full legal complaint yourself if you want to. It's on our website. It's very interesting. So this guy talks on behalf of his client that my client is a law student who is also a public spirited person, and he is compelled by the circumstances to present the legal notice. My client is a user of Facebook whereby he came upon the very abusive and offensive content put on your platform by account user Armin Navabi. That post depicts very abusive, filthy language written about Hindu gods and goddesses. The user of the account has put obscene, filthy, and abusive and demeaning graphics of Hindu religion and gods on its Instagram account /profile. So they start talking about our Instagram here, but like Instagram isn't actually like included in this notice. I think maybe they're just going straight to Facebook because it owns Instagram.
Wait, say that part again about that law student being sad. He was like, I'm so sad. This makes me so sad. Your post about my goddesses. It makes me sad.
Wait, no, it gets
I
better.
have to file a legal complaint about this post on your page that made me sad. Again, seriously, guys, they're taking this law student has hired a legal company to file a legal complaint against these social media platforms because he didn't like a post that he saw on our page and it hurts his fifis, and this is his reaction. God damn, man, you're a pathetic, sensitive little snowflake. Get over it. You will not be able to survive life. I promise you, life is going to become so difficult for you. You are going to suffer. You will not enjoy your life if this is what upsets you. God damn it. It's amazing. I mean, you lost. Is he paying this legal company? Like, you know what? I don't blame the legal company, and I don't blame Twitter. Right? Twitter is like, we can't deal with this crap. These people are sensitive, and they are spending money with legal notices. It's easier to just get rid of Armin and Susie. The legal company are like, this idiot is giving us money. We might as well just find a legal notice and collect his money. But the real victim here is this idiot that doesn't know how to block a page that he doesn't like and has to like do the, Susie, do you know how much it costs you to just block our page? It costs you $0. It costs you $0. But you had to do it the hard way. You had to like, no. I have to go file a legal notice after they've already been blocked. They already lost their accounts. But no, I have to add on top of that. You wasted your money, okay? And guess what? You're actually helping us. We have people who are saying, I didn't see the point of your art, but all these legal notices are making me see the point of your art. I didn't support them before. If I didn't even like them, but now I do. Okay, you need to. This is idiotic. Also, the whole point of India being filled with a bunch of like snowflakes that is holding India back against all the other people in India who are trying to push India forward. These pathetic people who are acting like this, who think their fifis are grants for legal complaints. That's our point. And guess what? Who's making that point for us? You are. You are doing our job. So you are paying money so that we can highlight you and your ridiculousness to show you how big of a problem this is in India. So congratulations, you paid and you're making our case. I hope it was worth it. But good.
I was about to say the complaint literally says, I was left shocked and deeply hurt after coming across the post, as I mentioned above. But so it goes even further. wait, let me find it. So it goes to, kind of inform these companies exactly what is illegal about this content. It complains about it for a long time, basically about talking about the very common argument that we've come across about promoting enmity between communities, and that's your intention, and communal disharmony, that excuse. But what was interesting is that this actually mentions the Blasphemous Art Project by name for the first time. The rest of them haven't.
What an honor.
So it wasn't just Goddess Kali, although it does specifically quote those tweets, which have been available on Twitter since November. It actually talks about the photographs and contents named Blasphemous Art under its Atheist Republic art group has also shown photos of Goddess Kali, Prophet Muhammad, Lord Rama, Lord Krishna, etc., which may not be accepted in any form. So for the first time, they actually mention our other blasphemy.
Guys, go check it out. BlasphemousArt.com. If you want to see BlasphemousArt.com, if you want to see, this guy is advertising for us, okay? If you guys want to know what he's so buttered about, just go to BlasphemousArt.com. This is let me actually remove the dark mode. This is an Atheist Republic project. All our art is available here. You get the free version if you subscribe to our newsletter. You get them all for free. So go check them out. Look at this. All our art. Look at how many pages do we have. We have so much. It goes on 12 pages, and that's not including the comics. Okay, if you want to see the comics, then here. So this is Blasphemous Art, and you have the illustrated scripture. We have like Hindu scripture. We turn into comics. We have where's that? Islamic ones. This is the Islamic one. Oh, this is a Christian one. Old Testament, New Testament. Quran, Hadith, and Hindu scripture, all of it. BlasphemousArt.com. Go check it out.
Do you want to hear their demands?
Oh, wow. Do I? Go on.
Yeah. Block the user account in the name of Atheist Republic, Armin Navabi, and other URLs mentioned above, blah, blah, blah. Preserve all the information and records so that evidence may be maintained for future legal proceedings. And identify and remove other such user accounts having similar and identical offensive content. They then go on to delineate specific aspects of the penal code that they violate and of the Information Technology Act. But it was really funny because on the last page, this is where it gets really good. It is therefore mentioned that immediate action may be taken against Armin Navabi or its Atheist Republic online account, and strict action must be taken against him. Otherwise, my client reserves their right to file civil/criminal case against both of you before the competent court of law. India, this is the best part. Facebook India is directed to take criminal action by lodging an FIR against the accused and ban his account on Facebook. So they are demanding that Facebook file or begin to initiate an FIR against you. They're demanding that Facebook takes on the responsibility of beginning to press criminal charges against you. That's how far
they want the entity that is the gajillion dollar company that is Facebook to file a criminal, not just block me, but actually file a criminal case against me as an individual for posting pictures of Muhammad and Hindu gods and goddesses. That's what they want. That's what this is a law school. Which law school is? I hope this person doesn't graduate because how is this person a law student?
No,
okay.
The client is a student.
That's what I know. That's what I said.
But they didn't write this.
So that's even worse. The law firm is this. Okay, well, that makes it even worse. The people who have actually graduated law school think that it makes sense for them to ask, do you understand how amazing that would be for me? Do you understand what would that do for my public image if I had Facebook, the entity that is Facebook? These people are living in La La Land, okay? If I had Facebook file a criminal case against me. Have they ever filed a criminal case against anybody? I don't know. Against me as an individual. Do you know I would become world famous? I would be on the goddamn news. I would be able, our Patreon will skyrocket. I would be able to go on so many goddamn shows. This would be the best thing that could ever happen to us. These people don't understand how anything works. This would be the biggest gift to Atheist Republic and me. I wouldn't have to do anything ever again when it comes to marketing. This would be like millions of dollars worth of marketing that was gifted to us for free. And it will never happen.
Well,
go on.
They conclude by threatening to file FIRs against employees of Twitter and Facebook themselves.
Okay.
If they don't.
All right.
So that's how they conclude.
Let's keep doing this.
And what's interesting is that that this was dated from June 22nd, 2021, but it didn't get here until a few days ago. So it took a month to get here, but Facebook and Twitter received this a lot sooner than we did.
By the way, I honestly, I'm looking forward to all of this. Come at us, right? Like, this is like, you guys, like, I mean, I'm hoping for a second round of legal notices and butthurt and everything. The first round was like,
this is
the giant. These are like aftershocks. I'm talking about a major hit, okay? Because the first time we got a hit, we went from 100 patrons to 400 patrons, right? So because of the attention that these people brought to us, right? So the amount of support we got, like, we were not financially viable as an entity before we got attacked by these people. And now we are financially viable, okay? But now we are being greedy because we're financially viable, but Susie's like, I wish we could do this. I wish we could help people with that. Oh, there are so many things like Suze wants to do when it comes to like human rights related that we don't have the money and the resources for. And Susie like really wants to do these things. And I was like, maybe another Hindutva wave of attack will get us funded enough for Susie to be able to do all those things. Okay. So I don't know. Get us to 1,000 patrons and Susie will be able to quit her job and work Atheist Republic full time. And like the first, given that we got to 400, like look at all these articles that we're writing. We have authors that write for us and like source things to us and design these covers. That's because of the Hindutva attack and the patrons that we got. We get to afford all of these things, all of these things, right? Now we need to get us to 1,000 patrons so Suze could like focus on Atheist Republic full time. And she has some very specific projects. She's like, we need to, because we are like, as an organization, she wants to do human rights related stuff, but we are filed as under an education company, right? So our mandate is to raise awareness, right? But even though that's our mandate, that's what we're being filed under. She wants to do some things that are more direct when it comes to human rights activity, but those things, cost money and resources, right? So get us to 1,000 patrons and we'll see what we can do. Link in the description to our Patreon. Get us to 1,000 patrons so that we could get... Guys, ever since Susie joined the Atheist Republic, we have done things that I thought we would not be able to do in a lifetime, okay? So in 1 year of her working, we have grown so much and we have done so much more than I imagined we could do. Aww. So if Susanna gets to work full-time for Atheist Republic, we will be unstoppable. So get us to 1,000 patrons. Link in the description, and you get for free all this blasphemous art that, again...
Yeah, if you want to know what these people are so upset about.
Yes, all of this blasphemous art that is getting all of these lawsuits, these ones, the blasphemous art, okay? All of this will be mailed to you in one ebook, okay? Every single one of them. Well, we keep adding to the ebook, okay? So subscribe to the newsletter and you get it all for free. And also support us on Patreon so that we could pay our artists and get you more blasphemy. And again, we need to animate this art. That takes a lot of money. So if you get us to more patrons, we get to create more animations faster as well. Oh yeah, some people say Atheist Republic 24/7 news. Yeah, that we will require 1 million patrons for that.
That's a lot
Oh
of
yeah,
work.
yeah. AJ is saying, "OMG, you should see
Yeah,
some of
they've
the
only
most
been
safer work."
complaining about the safer work versions.
Yes, yeah, the ones that they're seeing that they're offended, they don't even have nudity. Imagine if they were patrons and they could see Hendutva. If you want to get really offended, become a patron and become a patron and see what we have actually, what the patrons get to see, because those are a lot more juicy. So check it out. Anyways, do you want to say anything? Do you want to have any closing remarks?
No, I guess all these legal notices and complaints that we get are often not even directed towards us. They're often directed directly to Twitter and Facebook and just mention us. Like there was a lawsuit and we weren't a necessary party. It was just about us. And so this highlights the need for us to be able to control our the way that we contact our own community, right? Because platforms can decide, it's not worth putting up with all of this nonsense, all these complaints, let alone the government of India's meddling directly with Facebook, which is a whole different story. We can't necessarily count on these platforms to be where we can find and contact our audience consistently. So what that means is, as Armin was saying, he gave you a lot of incentive about why you should join our newsletter, but you should also just join our newsletter because it's how we can make sure that we can always contact you, no matter who tries to take us down.
Oh, so, by the way, for people who that's not who I wasn't clear enough. So the newsletter is free. You get all our art for free. The patrons get the uncensored version of our art. But we make 3 versions of our art. The safer work clothed version of our art, which is also very sexy, even if it doesn't have any nudity. And then we make the nude version of our art, which is for our patrons. And then we make one version which is the nude, but with the censored symbol on it. Okay, but the safe for work version doesn't have that censored logo on it, and it's very beautiful and it looks sexy, and it's free. So if you're a newsletter, something you don't have to be a patron to see our art. However, if you are a patron, you see a better version of our art. Okay. Yeah, but the safer work is free to become a subscriber. Somebody was saying BJP IT cell will harass you more. Bring it.
Oh,
I
boy.
welcome every single one of them. See what you can do. Bring your worst. All right. Anything else you want to add before we go?
No. I hope everyone has a good weekend.
Soha likes our art. Soha saying the Patreon blasphemous arts are uncensored and they are totally hot and sexy. Guys, our patrons love our art. You guys should be totally, if you can afford it, totally become a patron. It's just it's only you could limit it so that it's only $1 a month, right? But again, do not become a patron. Do not support us financially. If you're struggling financially, make sure that you take care of yourself first. Anybody who's considering supporting us, they shouldn't be if they're struggling. So please don't support us financially if you are struggling. Please don't. Just if you want to support us, there are other ways you can share our content. That really helps. Anyways, bye guys. Thank you so much for being here, and bye-bye. Till next time.
Bye.
Bye.